Yesterday and the day before. Sunday Night Baseball here from Arlington. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. It's made out by Joe Madden, the manager of the Rays, and his lineup is presented by Taco Bell. Tampa Bay entering play today. The best offensive team in baseball. B.J. Upton, after a terrible start, coming off a shoulder injury, he's gotten hot, starting to put up the numbers. Carl Crawford is going to the All-Star game. He's the Major League leader in stolen bases. Evan Longoria, he's going to the All-Star game, battling a bad hamstring, though, that has slowed him down the last couple of weeks. Carlos Pena is the American League leader in home runs with 23. Ben Zobrist, a switch hitter, a guy who's played 6 positions, he's going to the All-Star game. Pat Burrell, formerly of the Phillies, only 3 home runs this year. He'll be the DH tonight. Gabe Gross gets the start in right field for the Rays. Jason Bartlett hitting over 360. He's going to the All-Star game. 4 Rays will be there, and Deanna Navarro, the catcher, will bat 9. He is hitting .216 on the season. He is a switch hitter. These are the guys who make them go. B.J. Upton and Carl Crawford have combined to steal 69 bases on the season. Jared Saltalamacchia and Scott Feldman may have their hands full trying to slow down these Rays tonight. Speaking of Feldman, Steve, he has done quietly. He's done a very nice job in that Ranger rotation.
Well, a 26-year-old right-hander. You see the 13 starts. He actually pitched out of the pen a couple times this year. But his ERA out of the rotation has been a 3.3 since he's gone in there. The bullpen pitching has been a little bit of a struggle for him, but he keeps hitters off base. He can be run on, though. 9 stolen bases in 12 attempts. So a guy that can be run upon, a 6'6" long strider to the plate.
Now, it always seems, Joe, when you talk about a team whose pitching has improved, you usually talk about a team whose defense has improved as well.
Well, Michael Young over at third base is also, he was a Gold Glove winner last year at shortstop. But he made the All-Star team for the 6th consecutive year, and he's the Texas All-Star. And Saltalamacchia will be the catcher.
The Rangers believe they are above average at every infield position as Young has gotten more comfortable at third. The rookie 20-year-old Elvis Andrus at short, Ian Kinsler at second, and Chris Davis at first. We are ready for baseball. The Rangers winning 3-1 on Friday, 12-4 last night. Looking to sweep the series, and a first pitch swing and a pop-up. Andrews calls off Young and makes the catch. And boy, is that key for the Rangers tonight to keep the leadoff man, especially one of the speedsters, off base.
I wonder if Saltalamacchia asked to catch tonight, or did they flip a coin to see who's going to be the catcher with these speedsters for the Rays.
Well, Ron Washington really raves about his young catchers. Taylor Teagarden and Jared Saltalamacchia, 2 young guys learning how to handle the pitching staff, but also 2 young guys with pretty good throwing arms.
Here's Carl Crawford, and he'll take a fastball in for a strike from Feldman. Crawford last year had a number of injuries. His numbers were down from where they have been historically. But healthy, still only 27 years old, right in the prime of his career. He's having a magnificent season. On a 12-game hitting streak right now, easily the Major League leader in stolen bases. His career high in steals is 59. He's got 40 already this year. 1-2 from Feldman, and a breaking ball hit towards center field. A diving catch made by Marlon Byrd.
And we always talked about the line drive that's hit straight at you over your head being the toughest play. Well, to me, this may be the easiest play because it's right in front of you and you can see it. That doesn't make this an easy play, but it's easier than going back on a ball straight at you. And you see he comes straight in. That allows him to get in position, you know, to make the dive and come up with it. So nice play there by Marlon Byrd.
And he's been another one of the quiet success stories for the Texas Rangers this year, having a good season offensively and defensively. So Feldman retires Upton and Crawford to get the first 2 outs here in the first inning, and now he goes to work on Evan Longoria. Longoria, the overwhelming choice as the American League starter at third base for the All-Star game. The All-Star teams, by the way, if you were out at the beach, at the shore, having a barbecue today, enjoying the weekend, the All-Star teams were announced today, starters and reserves. And Longoria is going to start. Now he drives the ball to deep center field. Byrd giving chase. Byrd on the track to make the catch. Covering ground coming in and going back. And the Rays go in order here in the top of the first. And let's take a look now at the starting lineup for the Texas Rangers, as put together by Ron Washington. The lineup is presented by Taco Bell. The Rangers actually middle of the pack offensively in runs scored in the American League. Ian Kinsler got off to a great start, has really been struggling the last several weeks. Michael Young, he's going to the All-Star game again for the 6th time. David Murphy doing a nice job swinging the bat this year. He's been hot lately. Marlon Byrd, we've seen him on defense already. He's having a nice year offensively. Hank Blaylock, 4 home runs in his last 6 games. Nelson Cruz with 20 home runs among league leaders in the American League. Jared Saltalamacchia will do the catching tonight. Chris Davis, a lot of power, but striking out a ton, batting 8th and playing 1st. And Elvis Andrus, the talented young rookie shortstop for the Texas Rangers. Tough task, though, tonight, Joe, against Matt Garza.
Well, Matt Garza, he's 2-0 in his last 2 starts, and he's a guy that attacks the hitter. He, in my opinion, he doesn't have to throw to the edges. When he's at his best, he's attacking the hitter with his fastball in the strike zone. He throws fastball, curveball, slider, and a change, and he will throw all of his pitches at any time, but he needs to attack the zone. That's when he's at his best, with a good fastball.
Leading it off is Kinsler, hitting .256. Ian Kinsler was not named to the All-Star team today. He had been leading the voting most of the way at second base, but was passed right at the end by Dustin Pedroia of the Red Sox. Joe Madden, of course, will manage the American League All-Star team by virtue of the Rays going to the World Series last year. Kinsler, though, is one of the 5 players who was up for the last spot on the All-Star team that the fans vote on online at MLB.com. So he's got a shot to be the 33rd player. Carlos Pena of the Rays is another one of the candidates for that spot. The other American leaguers, Adam Lind of Toronto, Sean Figgins of the Angels, and Brandon Inge of Detroit.
Well, Kinsler got off to a great start, but he has struggled lately. I mean, he's got off to a great start the first month, hitting .340, and then he has really struggled. There you see since the first 100 bats, he's hitting .218, and he is struggling. He's 0 for 17. His career high 0 for was 0 for 20, so he's closing in on that, and that's one of the reasons I think he lost out to Dustin Pedroia down the stretch, because he was not hitting well.
It's like a boxing match. You want to finish the round with a rally, and he's not. He didn't finish the voting with a rally, and he looks like his bat's underwater a little bit. He looks a little bit tired. Ron Washington said, without Josh Hamilton around, we haven't been able to give him and Michael Young as much time off as we might like, so they're going to have to try to push through it.
Curveball misses just outside from Garza. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And people talk about, well, why is he tired? We're only halfway through the season. Well, if you play in the heat here in Texas and you're under that kind of pressure every day, it will tire you both mentally and physically.
Fouled off. We didn't do a thing yesterday except actually physically be here. We were tired.
Wiped out. Completely wiped out. Today's a little bit better.
Oh, today's much better.
Yeah, a little storm passed through last night. I guess the cold front, it's down to 86 or 85. Right?
Yeah. It was over 100 the last couple of days here in Texas.
Big crowd last night for the fireworks show.
2-2 on Kinsler, leading off the bottom of the 1st for the Rangers. And the pitch from Garza. Fastball runs up and hits him. And Kinsler a little bit shaken up.
You hear that fastball coming in, 92, 93 miles per hour. Kinsler doesn't back away from the inside fastball. Looks like he catches it off the forearm, maybe off a little bit on the elbow there on his throwing arm. They used to come out, Joe, and when you were playing, they'd put that spray, that freeze spray on it. Remember, they'd come out there and the trainer would spray it, and they're like, it's all right, it's better.
That was more psychological than it was anything else. Hey, this will help you. It did not hurt you a lot, help you a lot. One of the problems a lot of hitters have now is they start that front shoulder to open, and when it opens like that, that back arm is exposed. If you stay square, keep the bat back, then that will not happen. But that also tells one of the reasons you were talking about. He's struggling a little bit. He's trying to get the barrel of the bat out there, so he's opening a little too soon.
So the leadoff man aboard in a painful way is Kinsler's at first, and here's Michael Young to take a strike. Young's going to the All-Star game again. It'll be the 6th year in a row, but the first time he goes as a third baseman. Tampa Bay's Evan Longoria won the fan voting. And the next step you go to is the player balloting, and Michael Young was the player's choice to represent the American League at third base. Kinsler bluffs a start, and Young fouls it off. So what we know is at best Alex Rodriguez, he didn't finish first or second among the player votes, and we all understand the circumstances, but kind of strange. No A-Rod in the All-Star game, no Manny Ramirez, and again, the circumstances dictate that, but a couple of big names who aren't going to be there this year.
I think certainly a suspension for Manny and injuries for Alex Rodriguez, but I think some part of that, I believe, a statement from fans maybe that some of the lingering effects or the other issues that are out there for both those players are affected their voting.
Evan Longoria really seems to have captured the imagination of baseball fans too. Even though he plays for Tampa Bay, even though it's only his second year in the major leagues, he's won a Rookie of the Year, he's been in the All-Star game, he's been in the postseason, he's played in the World Baseball Classic, and he is a household name. Everybody knows who this guy is.
And he's kind of starting his career like Derek Jeter started his career with the Yankees. Now, he didn't get the World Series victory, but that sort of young notoriety for a young player.
1-2 pitch is fouled off. As for the Rangers, they hoped Young would go. They expected Josh Hamilton to go. He was voted in as a starter, and Hamilton says if he's physically able to play, and he's supposed to come off rehab in a couple of days, that he will play in the All-Star game. They weren't really sure if Kinsler was going to get in. The one that really hurts them is they all thought Kevin Millwood deserved to be there. Their ace, their lead starting pitcher, and he's got very good numbers, but he did not make the All-Star team. And that's the one that really kind of grinds at the Rangers right now. Again, the 1-2, and Young chases a breaking ball and strikes out.
Take a look at the Tampa Bay Rays defensively, and take a look at the outfield. They have a couple of center fielder types. Carl Crawford's got a good play center field, covers a lot of ground. B.J. Upton, I think the best defensive center fielder in the game. Gabe Gross and right. You take a look at the infield. Evan Longoria, we talked about him in the All-Star game. Jason Bartlett and Ben Zobrist. And if Carlos Pena gets voted in that final vote, they'd have all of their infield in the All-Star game. Deanna Navarro behind the plate, working with Matt Garza on the mound.
Here's David Murphy, 1 on, 1 out, no score, bottom of the first. And Murphy spanks one into right center field, a base hit. Kinsler around second. Upton's throw back into second. Rangers on the corners with 1 out.
And there's that speed we talked about that both of these teams have at the top of their order. Kinsler easily goes around to third base. It's not always about the stolen base. It's about going from first to third, being able to score on a single to the outfield. And we get a look here at just nice swing. That's a left-handed batter's perfect swing there. Low fastball, lines it over the head of the second baseman. You see Kinsler easily around the third base.
And the Rangers with a threat going here in the first inning, trying to sweep this series and to move back into a tie with the Angels atop the American League West on the eve of another series beginning in Anaheim. Texas took 2 out of 3 from the Angels here this week, and Texas will be in Anaheim for the beginning of a 3-game series tomorrow. Joe Madden looking on with some concern. Here's the cleanup hitter for the Rangers, center fielder Marlon Byrd. And in the absence of Josh Hamilton, Byrd has both moved to center field and done a really nice job with the bat. He's driven in 40 runs. He's got 26 doubles. Getting cleanup for Ron Washington, and Josh Hamilton could be back possibly as early as tomorrow, but they want to see how he made out today and tonight on rehab at AAA. They got rained out yesterday, so that set his schedule back today as Hamilton comes back from a torn abdominal muscle.
Well, originally he was going to come play yesterday, but I don't think they're happy with what they've seen in the minor leagues. He hasn't swung the bat nearly as well as they know he can, and they don't want him to come back up here and struggle. You want him to come back and bring some added offense to this ball club, and the only way you can do that is give him time to get ready to play the game.
Hitters count 2-0. The pitch to Byrd, and he chases a bad ball, hits a weak ground ball toward third. It'll get a run home. Safe at first is Byrd. Give them an infield hit and give the Rangers a 1-0 lead.
And you may, again, that's the speed that we're talking about. Even though it's an infield hit, it saves an out. You were going to get the run home, but you saved the out with the speed at the top of this order. And Garza, they're not cranking him, but he's giving up some base hits, and they're scoring a run. It's a nice play by Longoria, but not in time. And that old saying, tie goes to the runner.
Guess so. It looked pretty close.
When I first saw it in regular speed, I thought he was out.
I did too. Matt Garza sure didn't react very quickly with that ball coming off the bat, off the mound. He kind of went to his follow-through. It was like it surprised him that it was hit that softly.
So 1-0 Texas, 2 on with a 1 out. Here's Hank Blaylock, the DH.
Take a look at Matt Garza here now. Bird hits it off the bat. He goes out of the box full speed. He smells base hit. Lean forward at first base. Sometimes, you give a little help to the umpire, too, with the safe sign as you run through the bag. Didn't need it.
I think it was the lean.
Yeah.
The lean got him in there.
Well, it definitely seems that more teams the last couple of years are starting to re-emphasize speed. And maybe that's a natural consequence of coming out of the so-called steroid era. But more teams are taking the extra base and stealing bases than they were 5-6 years ago.
Well, what has happened, Dan, is every aspect of the game has become important again. It used to be just a 3-run homer. Now defense, speed, pitch, everything is important now.
Just like when you played, right? Yeah, it's back to being real baseball.
Well, I love it. Yeah. and everyone thinks I only care about the stolen base. No, I love the home run. I mean, I played with guys that hit home runs. But I think you have to have every aspect of the game if you're going to be a great team. And I think we went through a stretch there where we're only waiting for the 3-run homer, and we were not using players to the best of their ability. You have a lot of guys that can run the bases. Forget about stealing bases. I'm talking about just run the bases. Going from first to third.
3-0 green light and a swing and a foul off by Blaylock.
Well, they want him to swing 3-0 because they were staying away from the fastball with Blaylock. They don't want to give him a fastball unless they have to. Up 3-0, he has to give him one. So Ron Washington says, go ahead and take your shot.
I really think that the transition to speed and defense is really a byproduct of the Rays. I think they've changed the game. I think that when they went with young athletic players, the Crawfords and Uptons and Aki Iwamura kind of moved to second base and was a defensive, speedy guy. I think other teams realize that's winning baseball right now.
Swing and a miss and a full count on Blaylock.
Pro sports is really a copycat type of situation. Whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, if you win with a certain part of the game that you emphasize, other teams are going to try to copy that. And I think you're right. When the Atlanta Braves had the pitching staff, It was the pitching. I think now when it was the home run hitters, everybody tried to beef up with the home run. I think now that we're going to see baseball the way it's meant to be played.
Full count. 2 on, 1 out. And a breaking ball gets him for strike 3 called.
And he was determined not to give him a fastball that he could hit. And that's why Ron Washington let him swing 3-0. He threw a great fastball under his hands the pitch before. Let's take a look at the sequence of pitches here. And you see there's a changeup. He's trying to stay away from the fastball, sinker down and away. And now 3-0, he lets him swing. Fastball under the hands. Now it's 3-2, right down the middle. Beautiful breaking ball there from Garza. And we said at the beginning, he will throw all of his pitches. He's not afraid to throw a 3-2 breaking ball. And we saw it there, and he made it perfectly.
The batter now, Nelson Cruz, the right fielder. He's got 20 home runs on the season. Running for the Rangers, 2 on, 2 out.
I asked Joe Madden before the game. I said Matt Garza throws 70+% fastballs. The opposition only hits 246. The major league average against the fastball, 283. I said, but the Rangers are the best slugging team against right-handed pitchers' fastballs. Madden said, I don't care. I want Garza to throw his fastball. It's his best pitch.
He'd rather go strength against strength than weakness against weakness.
He said, well, where you get in trouble is where a pitcher tries to get cute early using his off-speed stuff, kind of trying to trick hitters early. He said, I want him to establish the fastball early, then the second time, third time through the lineup, start to show the slider and curveball.
Well, some of those guys hitting 283 aren't hitting against Matt Garza's fastball either. Some of those are hitting against me and you. Right. Our fastballs, not the great fastballs.
Ground ball down to third, throw to second just in time to force the runner and end the inning. But the Rangers get a run off Garza to lead 1-0. American League All-Star team. He's one of the 5 guys up for that spot that you, the fans, decide by voting online. Pena's got some great pluses, like 23 homers. He's also got some negatives, though. He's only hitting .233. He has struck out over 100 times. And this happens every year. There are just so many good first basemen that it's tough to get a spot. There are actually 4 first basemen to go into the All-Star game for the National League. Breaking ball low from Feldman, and the count is 1-1.
I understand that, but I question that because it takes away from some other spots where a guy could be an all-star. If you are not one of the best top 1 or 2 at your position, then I have to question that.
The reason I question it is the game's in St. Louis, a National League ballpark, and if you're playing to win, I think versatility is going to be important. Having guys that can play multiple positions, or at least spreading your extra men around the field so that when you do make switches, they can go in and play defensively, and you don't get caught in a situation where late in the game you've got pitchers hitting.
And all those guys are first basemen. I mean, yeah. I don't think Ryan Howard can play second. I don't think Adrian Gonzalez can play third.
I wouldn't mind watching it, though. It'd be kind of interesting. But I think that for that final man vote, I think that, you look at some of the choices people have, and there's some versatility and there's some power.
And one thing we should say, and it's kind of thing you have to say every year, the fans vote for the 8 starters in both leagues. Then the players get the vote for the next 16 players, 8 position players and 8 pitchers. So now you're up to 24. Before Joe Madden and Charlie Manuel have done anything, Madden and Manuel then each select 8 players. But usually of those 8, 3 or 4 are guys they have to pick from teams who haven't been represented yet. So in reality, Joe Madden and Charlie Manuel really had a say in maybe 4 or 5 of the players on the All-Star team. That's it.
And you go to the World Series and you think, boy, what a great, rewarding event that was. And then you get the curse of having to manage the All-Star game because it's not a lot of fun trying to figure out those rosters.
Yeah, but I'd rather do that.
Yeah,
I'd rather do that than be asked to be a coach.
but it's not a reward. I mean, no. It used to be different when the players didn't vote and the manager had to select the rest of the roster. That's when the politics of make sure you don't offend your closest opposition.
Swing and a miss, and Pena's gone. 1 down. Well, speaking of the All-Star game and all the related events, here they come. It begins on Sunday at 2 Eastern on ESPN2, the 2009 XM All-Star Futures game. Then it's the State Farm Home Run Derby. Both Joe and Steve will be a part of that on ESPN Monday night at 8. The Taco Bell Legends and Celebrity Softball game Monday night 10 Eastern here on ESPN. Tuesday afternoon at 4, the MLB All-Star Red Carpet Show presented by Chevy on the MLB Network. And then Tuesday night, the big game, the All-Star game on Fox beginning at 8 Eastern, also available on ESPN Radio. 1-0 Texas, top of the second. Here's a guy who's pretty excited. He's going to St. Louis, and if you ask Ben Zobrist what were your goals at the beginning of the year, he said, I just wanted to get in the lineup. And he means the Tampa Bay lineup, not the All-Star lineup. He was kind of the 10th man, the super utility guy, and he was playing all over. And then Aki Iwamura got hurt. Zobrist became the regular second baseman. And he is leading the American League in OPS, on base plus slugging. And he's an all-star. Flies out to center field for the second out of the inning. Let's give you the American League all-star starters. Everything was made official today. Jason Abe leads the league in RBIs. Josh Hamilton was the one that kind of jumps out at you because he's been hurt so much, but the fans voted him in. Ichiro is going. What else is new? Evan Longoria, Derek Jeter got more votes than anybody in the American League. Dustin Pedroia in a photo finish over Ian Kinsler. Mark Teixeira in a close one over Justin Morneau. And then Joe Mauer behind the plate. Anything jump out at you guys about that group?
Well, all of those guys obviously deserve to be there. The question mark you said is Josh Hamilton because he hasn't played a lot. But, he was definitely an all-star last year, and he caught the imagination of the nation with his home run derby performance. And I think people really enjoy watching him play. So they voted him in. But, if I'm looking at the American League, I say Jermaine Dye, in my opinion, should be on that team someplace. Here's a guy, he's hitting .291. He has 20 home runs, 51 RBIs, and he's done it year in and year out. It's not like this is something new. I'm just surprised that he doesn't get more support from the players. Because I definitely think Jermaine Dye should be on that team.
I think the fans got it right. I think for the most part, I think that it came down that I think second base was tough. I think when you look at the American League, I mean, Pedroia gets in, but Ian Kinsler was close. But Aaron Hill, the numbers he's put up in Toronto this year, certainly were worthy of getting selected by the fans, but at least he is in the game.
And by the way, the outfielder who finished fourth, to go back to Josh Hamilton for a moment, if Hamilton were unable to play or decided to decline or just hadn't gotten that many votes because he hadn't played that much, Torrey Hunter is the guy who would have moved into the starting lineup, and he's having a fantastic season, and he is going to be on the All-Star team as a reserve. There's ball 4 as Pat Burrell draws a 2-out walk. Well, how about the starters for the National League? And again, the game will be played in St. Louis under National League rules. And Raul Ibanez, Carlos Beltran, Ryan Braun starting for the second year in a row. The first Brewer since Robin Yount to start consecutive All-Star games. David Wright, Hanley Ramirez, Chase Utley. No big surprise, Albert Pujols at first base. And another Cardinal, Yadier Molina, in the starting lineup. So there will be 2 Cardinals as starters for the National League right there at Busch Stadium. Here's Gabe Gross, the Tampa Bay right fielder. What about the NL? Any surprises or notable names on that list?
None for me. I mean, I think, like you said, I think the fans did a pretty good job there. I mean, there's always a discussion. You can look at guys who may have been injured and didn't play as much, and so therefore they aren't as productive as someone else may have been at that same position. But in most cases, looks like they got it right.
Yeah, I think Carlos Beltran, obviously injured, not going to be able to play in the game, so it'll be interesting to see how they go and move forward to replace him on that roster. But I think that if I had selected, Brian McCann, I think could have been an option as the starting catcher with the numbers he's put up this year, even with a little bit of missed time with his eye problems. But McCann ends up making the roster as part of the selection process.
So I also believe that we should reward the team, sometimes. Like if you have a winning team and there's a reason that you're winning, some of your players, I think if you have a situation where you're undecided and it's a tie, then I think you should look at the team's record, and that should help you decide between players. I think you should reward winning.
Fouled back by Gross, and the count is 2-2. I think that's one of the arguments that people here in Arlington are making. Is Texas, if they win tonight, they're tied for first. Kevin Millwood is their ace. Right. He's got an ERA of 2.80. Pitching in this ballpark, he's ended losing streaks and won some big games against division rivals and key games and so forth. And they were really hoping that he was going to go.
That would be what I was talking about. Right. You're a winning team. Right. This is your ace.
And Felix Hernandez of Seattle, who's also having a terrific year, very similar numbers, but Felix Hernandez is going, Kevin Millwood is not.
I think that when you look at the roster, the one guy you look at is Tim Wakefield for the Boston Red Sox. 10 wins, then obviously that stands out, an ERA at 4.3. But talking to Joe Madden said, look, that's kind of a lifetime service award as well. He's had a lot of contributions over the years. It was his time to get recognized.
And I agree with that 100%, because here's a guy that has pitched in the postseason. He's done all the things that you need to do to be an all-star in his career. He's a career-type all-star. Maybe that's the point that, Madden is making. His career deserves to be acknowledged as an all-star, and I think this is the opportunity because he does have 10 wins.
Runner Burrell will be on the move from first. The 3-2 to Gross. Set down the left field line, but it is slicing foul. And if the game goes 23 innings, Tim Wakefield's a great guy out there pitching for the
exactly.
He can just go. Just send him out there.
The one thing that is interesting to me is 2 catchers for both teams in an all-star game. That worries me a little bit.
No, they've changed the rule, though.
You can replace him and put him back in.
If a guy gets hurt, you can go back in. The catchers are the ones they're able to do that with now. So they've changed that rule.
Still, 2 seems light to me on catching. I mean, you're right. I mean, they can replace him, so maybe it's the flexibility you need.
3-2 again, and another foul off. The catches for the American League. Joe Mauer's the starter. Victor Martinez is the backup. We mentioned Yadier Molina will be the starter for the National League. Brian McCann is the backup. A very nice story. McCann having all the vision problems earlier this season, struggling, went on the DL back in April, but has hit the ball like crazy for the last couple of months, and he's going to the All-Star game again. Meanwhile, a good battle between Scott Feldman and Gabe Gross. Again, the 3-2, and it's ripped down the right field line, but foul, and what a catch. Well, if we need A ball girl at the All-Star game. I think we just found our winner.
Oh, he's bowing because he was in jeopardy of getting hit.
That's right.
He was trying to get out of the way. But she does have the glove on, so she was supposed to protect that area. Nice catch. Now she can give it to a young fan down there. See, we talked last week, and I was saying, when you play this far behind a guy at first base, you give him such a running start that he can score on anything. I mean, he gets way out here by the time the pitch is thrown. I mean, he's halfway.
That's a base hit over the glove of Kinsler. Burrell is on his way to third. And he's going to be held there. But to your point, Joe, if that were a faster runner at first, he might come home.
And I just do not like to play that far behind. You can play behind him enough so that he just can't take off. Burrell was just getting such a running start. I've never liked that play. I mean, see how far back he is? I mean, no chance. And again, you see Burrell kind of lumbering around the third. If someone else may have gone, that ball's not back to the infield yet. You could just try to score him. See, and especially with 2 outs, sometimes it's worth the chance.
And you're not saying they have to hold him on first. Just come up and jockey behind him to be able to keep him a little bit tighter.
Exactly. You don't sit on the bag, but you come up behind him so he knows you're there, and that keeps him from just taking off right away.
Great at bat by Gabe Gross. A 10-pitch at bat. He fouled off 4 in a row before finally coming up with the base hit. Keeps the inning alive. First and third, 2 down. And here comes Jason Bartlett, another one of the great stories for the Rays. A .362 hitter on the season. Now, he was on the DL for a bit, so he's 9 plate appearances short of qualifying for the American League lead. But if he stays healthy, he'll make that up. And Ichiro's hitting .365, so Bartlett would be neck and neck with Ichiro for the batting lead in the American League. Bartlett's hitting over .400 with runners in scoring position. As Joe mentioned off the top of the show, he's got 17 steals, plays good defense, and he's going to the All-Star game.
Well, the one thing the Rays do, their hitting philosophy is to swing at pitches over the plate. They don't chase. They chase the lowest percentage of pitches off the plate. Bartlett and B.J. Upton, the lowest at 16%. The team at 20%. The average is 28%. So they force a pitcher to throw it over the plate. And with runners in scoring position, when you do that, you allow yourself a hitter's count where you can kind of predict what kind of pitch you're going to get and look to drive it right back up the middle for a base hit.
Curveball outside, 3 balls and a strike, and a very dangerous hitter.
I always looked at hitters when their base on balls went up, then their home runs went up. They started to figure it out because they realized that when they get in a hitter's count, they can look for a pitch that they can drive. And Bartlett has done that. 44 walks this year, and the home run numbers are coming.
And there's ball 4. Feldman walks him. Feldman has thrown over 30 pitches in this inning. And after getting the first 2 outs, Pena and Zobrist, now the bases are loaded for the catcher and number 9 hitter Deanna Navarro. And Feldman's going to get himself a visit, maybe just to settle him down a little bit. Now, it's not 100 degrees. It's 85 degrees. But still, to be out here in July in Texas throwing 32 pitches in an inning, that's not going to help him in the middle innings of this game.
Well, no question about that. It's not going to help us up here either as we're talking about it. I'm getting hot. But it's always about us. But, listen, the one thing that the Texas Rangers have done, they want their pitchers to go deeper into the game. And they're doing that this year. Mike Maddox, the pitching coach out there, the fine pitching coach, really implanting the pitching philosophy of Nolan Ryan, the new president of the team, to try to get them to throw strikes, be efficient, go deeper into the game. One thing about Feldman, he pitches to contact more often than not to try to get the hitter to put it in play.
That's interesting. The definition of a quality start is 6 innings and 3 earned runs, but Nolan Ryan says it's 7 innings and 3 earned runs. So they have a different definition down here in Texas, and that's what he wants his starting pitchers to shoot for. Here's Navarro, and he'll take inside, ball 1.
Well, I think that's trying to get them to think past the 6th inning. There was an old philosophy, used to say 5 and fly. Pitch your 5 innings, get a lead, and let the bullpen take over. That's not the philosophy of Nolan Ryan.
And the Rangers, to their credit, their starting pitchers, and we're not talking about a bunch of big-name starters other than Kevin Millwood, but their starting pitchers are 2nd in the American League in innings pitched per game. That's a huge jump from where they've been over the last several years.
I think, Washington was talking about that, and I think someone else told you the same thing, and that is they have better pitchers now as well, and now they can even get better with that philosophy. Meaning they're up to 6 now, maybe with the philosophy of trying to get better and having better pitchers, you can go even 6.3 or 6.2 or something. You can get close to 7 innings.
Well, the prior 12 seasons to this season, the Texas Rangers pitchers have not been better than 11th in the league in ERA. This year they're 6th, and you see where they are in the standings. Pitching is the difference. Nolan Ryan understands that, and now as an organization, it's their philosophy.
Feldman trying to get out of this mess. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and he strikes out Navarro to win the inning. It wasn't easy. It took him 36 pitches, but Tampa Bay doesn't score. Taco Bell. Welcome back to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. Dan Shulman sitting in for John Miller, joined by Hall of Famer Joe Morgan and Steve Phillips. 1-0 the Rangers over the Rays as we go to the bottom of the second. Jared Saltalamacchia, the Texas catcher, will lead it off against Matt Garza. He'll be followed by Chris Davis and then Elvis Andrus. And the switch hitting Saltalamacchia takes inside, ball 1. Saltalamacchia was part of the return in the deal with Atlanta a couple of years ago. That's in a Mark Teixeira from the Rangers to the Braves. Sometimes when you make those trades, Steve, you know this as a GM, you want your fan base, although New York teams make them from the Atlanta perspective, not the way that Texas did it, but sometimes your fans, they just, at that point in time, they may not have heard of Elvis Andrus or Jared Saltalamacchia or Matt Harrison or Neftali Feliz, but it sure looks like the Rangers got a lot in that deal for Teixeira.
Now, whenever you get the all-star caliber player, you feel like the winner in the deal, and everybody thinks you're the winner in the deal. But I think the Texas Rangers, for what they were doing at that time, made out as well as they possibly could, because Jared Saltalamacchia is going to be a stabilizer behind the plate for years to come. The power bat's going to be there. Elvis Andrus is going to be an all-star caliber shortstop for years to come.
Here's the 2-1. Up and in.
They got Matt Harrison, left-hand pitcher, out of the deal as well. He's on the DL, but he's done a nice job for them so far this year. Neftali Feliz down at AAA for them has an outstanding arm, throws 100 miles per hour. We may see him here in the major leagues before too long, and this may go down in history as one of the best trade deadline deals ever made.
Fastball lined up the alley in left center field. It's going to get to the fence. Saltalamacchia around second and then puts the brakes on. He'll be contented with a leadoff double.
Well, when Saltalamacchia came up, the Braves thought he was going to be a great hitter, because he is a switch hitter. They thought he was going to be better offensively than he has been, and maybe he's still learning and, working with Rudy Jaramillo. Maybe one of these days he will. That's shot up in the gap in the left center field. That's a beautiful swing there. And Saltalamacchia leads it off with a double, and we'll see if the Rangers can move him along. That's one of the things that they have really improved under Ron Washington. Fundamentals, playing the game the right way and moving runners along.
Now let's see if Chris Davis can do it. Davis is striking out at a higher clip than anybody in baseball. He's got power, but he's got some holes in his swing. And last year he hit 285. This year he's at 201. But because of the power and good defense, he is still the regular at first base for the Rangers.
Somewhere I just think that if you're forced to face the fact that you're striking out that much, that you can do something about it. A guy that showed you that he could hit 285, to me, he could do something about it. But it tells me that maybe he's just in love with that long fly ball, the big fly.
Well, I asked Ron Washington about it. What they said is that they rushed him through the minor leagues. He never was given a chance to fail in the minor leagues to learn how to get himself out of it. Had a little success at the major league level. And listen, people find your holes, and they have found his holes at the plate. Up and in, down and away. And he hasn't been able to make an adjustment because he never failed and had the ability to fall back on it to figure out how to get out of the slump.
High fly ball, left center, pretty deep. And the catch made by Crawford on the track, but it is deep enough to get Saltalamacchia to third. More Major League action coming your way here on ESPN tomorrow night. Monday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern. Steve and I and Oral Hershiser will be at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Derek Lee and the Cubs taking on the Atlanta Braves. And then on Wednesday Night Baseball, presented by Smirnoff Ice at 7 Eastern, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers at Citi Field to take on the reeling New York Mets. The Mets lost again today. They were shut out by the Phillies 2-0. Johan Santana, the same old story for him. Pitched well, no run support. Joe Blanton got the win. The Phillies swept the Mets. The Mets scored only 3 runs in that 3-game series. Wow. Now, what do you think about this? Infield in. Second inning in this ballpark. Infield in.
And this is for a team that was leading the league in runs scored at the beginning of the day, meaning the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, they're known to score runs, yet they're playing the infield in. I'm a little surprised.
Well, you got a young guy in Elvis Andrus. I'm trying to think along with Joe Madden here. You got a young guy who struggles a little bit at the plate. You've got an overpowering fastball and breaking ball from Garza. You may get a weak ground ball, and if you get it, you could cut down the run at the plate.
Andrus lines one to center field. Upton will make the catch. Saltalamacchia tagging. The throw not in time. Sack fly. 2-0 Rangers.
And a good job there by Andrus. I mean, to get the ball to the outfield. He kind of inside out of that ball. The ball looked like it was in, and he pushed it to center field. And if you're trying to get a sacrifice fly, going to center field is the best way to get it because you're going back through the middle. And watch him kind of push this ball off. See that? Ball's in, and he pushes it off in the center field. And that's the best way to get a sacrifice fly.
So a couple of productive at-bats for the Texas Rangers. The number 8 hitter that advances the runner, not the conventional way, but he hits a deep enough fly ball to left to advance the runner to third. Then the number 9 hitter, the rookie Andrus, with the sac fly to give the Rangers a 2-0 lead as they look to sweep this series from Tampa Bay. 2 outs, nobody on, and back to the top of the order now for Kinsler, who was hit by a pitch his first time up. A fly ball left center. Crawford there, inning over. Another inning, another run. 2-0 Texas at the end of 2.
Presented by Taco Bell. Brought to you by Chevy. And LensCrafters. See what you love. Love what you see. LensCrafters.
Top of the third in Arlington as B.J. Upton steps in and takes a strike from Scott Feldman. The Rangers 2 and the Rays nothing. Upton popped up his first time up. Upton's brother, by the way, Justin, is going to the All-Star game for the National League, the Arizona outfielder. The younger brother. B.J. is the older brother. And Feldman painting the outside corner. It's 1-2.
BJ got off to a slow start coming off of shoulder surgery, but now that shoulder healing up, he's regaining some strength, and the offensive production coming back for him.
And that hits him. Fastball runs in and hits Upton, and he'll head down to first. No, not the way he intended to get on base, but he's heading down to first, and now he can use another one of his weapons. In fact, B.J. Upton and Carl Crawford are easily the fastest duo in Major League Baseball this year in terms of combined stolen bases. They've combined for 69, just the two of them, and that's more than most Major League teams have. The Rays as a team have 122 stolen bases. Nobody else is even close. And when these guys get on base, they can just make life miserable for the other team.
I think one of the things we showed there wasn't just about the stolen base. The speed to be able to score from first on a double. The speed to be able to score on a routine single into the outfield. That's what Crawford brings, and, of course, Upton and the entire Rays team.
Upton took a couple of steps, then put the brakes on.
And this is one of those situations where you're early in the ball game, 2-0 means nothing. I mean, if you're Upton and you get a good jump, you take off.
I think in the game last night, Texas got out to such a big lead, it kind of took the running game away from Tampa Bay a little bit to where they couldn't really try to run in that 12-4 loss. It was interesting in watching Crawford and Upton in the way that they run. Upton has such a smooth, easy stride, and Crawford has that sort of acceleration, that kind of power run where he's pumping his arms. But I tell you, Upton, you see it in the outfield, you see it on the bases, how smooth he is.
And when you watch Upton, you can tell that he is really concentrating on that first step, because that's, as he said, is the most important to him. And that's why he started and stopped a second ago. He didn't think he got the first step that he wanted to be able to steal the base.
Now, Joe, you stole 689 bases in your Major League career. If you didn't feel you got a good jump, did you put the brakes on, or once you committed, were you going?
Well, I put the brakes on, but we talked to Carl Crawford, and he's just the opposite. If he gets a mediocre jump, he goes because he feels like he can pick it up, you know, along the way. I couldn't pick it up along the way. I wasn't as fast. I was quick. After, you know, 2 steps, I was up to full speed. Carl Crawford builds speed as he goes, and therefore he doesn't have to get the perfect jump every time. I always felt like I wanted a perfect jump, especially if you had a pitcher on the mound that, you know, delivered the ball quickly, and you had a good throwing catcher behind the plate. You can make the ground up by reading the pitcher better and getting a better jump.
Not going. And it's outside ball 3. And here's another one of the many aspects of speed. Is Scott Feldman thinking as much about B.J. Upton as he is Carl Crawford?
Well, if he's thinking at all about him, he's taking some of the concentration away from the hitter. And that's why hitters that hit behind base stealers have a lot of success. But I don't think there was any doubt that he was trying to change his motion, vary his time of delivery, hold it a little longer, go quicker. You do those things to try to keep the base stealer from getting a good jump. But in doing so, you break up your own rhythm as well.
Joe Madden said the stolen base is an asset, but the threat of the stolen base is an asset as well, because it gets the pitcher out of it, and a lot of times he'll make mistakes or it takes something away from his stuff because he rushes to the plate.
But it takes the slow curve away from him completely, you know, and a lot of changeup. So normally with a hitter, you look fastball, slider. You're going to get something hard to swing at.
The batter now is Evan Longoria. 2 on, nobody out, and Feldman will look up to the back to the bag. The Tampa Bay Rays are not only blessed with great speed, they have a lot of power as well. They've got over 100 steals and over 100 home runs already this year. They did that in their 77th game. The fastest any team has ever done that. So you've got Upton and Crawford, who are the top 2 guys in terms of speed. But then you've got Longoria and Pena and Zobrist hitting a lot of home runs. So the Rays can hurt you many different ways. The runners are going, and there will be no throw. Pitch in the dirt, double steal.
Well, that's one of the things that can affect the game, obviously, and that's what we're talking about. And we were wondering why you would play the infield in, which Joe Madden did in the bottom of the second inning. But I really believe that they just disrupt you so much. I mean, he never stops. You don't stop him. He's got a moving lead, walking lead. He just keeps going. And even if the ball wasn't in the dirt, it wasn't going to work.
Liner to right field. Catch made by Cruz. Upton tagging, coming home. Throw up the line. Throw to third. Goes into left field. And another run will score.
And that's the point we were talking about. Not just stealing the base, but the speed puts pressure on the defense. We knew that B.J. Upton was going to score. The throw should have gone to third base anyway. They threw it halfway up the first baseline because he didn't know where to throw it. The ball has to go to third base to try to keep Crawford from going over there. You force the catcher to have to try to make an off-balance throw, and it just messes up. See, that throw should have gone to third base. There's no chance to get B.J. Upton at home. Now you see Saltalamacchia trying to make a great play, and he throws it into the outfield. And again, speed kills, and that's what happens to you.
Well, Nelson Cruz has a great arm, so I think he thought, hey, I'm going to throw out that guy in the challenge. But if you're going to throw it home, and you're right, if you're going to throw it home, at least hit the cutoff man, to where you're giving your infield a chance to get the out at third base.
And Tampa Bay just scored 2 runs without the benefit of a hit. A hit batter, a walk, a double steal, a sac fly, and an error. And just like that, the Rays have tied it.
Everybody talks about the stolen base, being the big deal. And people lament the fact that if you get thrown out stealing the base, it's a bad thing. Well, look at all the other problems that speed causes and the stolen base causes. We just saw this inning, you hit the guy, and it changed the whole thing because it happened to be B.J. Upton, who could steal a base, then Carl Crawford's on the bases. Now what are you going to do? So anyone that talks to me about being thrown out stealing a base that's not important, then you shouldn't do it. Really, I don't think they understand the game.
I mean, there's some level of risk, Joe, that you have to take in the game. Look, they even drink at the same time. Now, Upton's a little faster drinker than Crawford is.
He's got a better first step.
Yeah, he does.
2-1 the count on Carlos Pena. Tied at 2 here in the third inning. Well, think back to the Marlins who won the World Series back in 2003 with Pierre and Castillo. The difference is these guys have more pop. I mean, they can run just as fast as Pierre and Castillo, but these guys can hurt you with the bat in different ways, more so than Pierre and Castillo could.
Well, BJ, even though he struck, he got off to a slow start, he has 7 home runs, and Crawford has 8.
Yep.
So you're right. I mean, they can hit the ball out of the ballpark just as well.
Inside of the full count on Pena.
You see how they're approaching Carlos Pena here. That fastball in and the fastball up. His first swing, he got a fastball, and he's got that kind of uppercut swing, and he swung right underneath that high fastball.
Ground ball to first. Feldman over to cover. Takes the feed from Davis. 2 down. Well, so speed is one half of the ways that Tampa Bay can hurt you offensively, but they got a ton of power as well. Carlos Pena leads the American League with 23 home runs. Evan Longoria's got 16. Ben Zobrist has 16 at the midway point of the season. And the 3 of them have combined for a higher collective slugging percentage than any other 3 hitters in the American League. So it's great when you have a team that could win the high-scoring games, could win the low-scoring games, can beat you with one thing, even if another aspect of their game isn't on that particular night.
Well, I tell you what, I love the home run. I love the speed, I love the stolen bases, but I also love the home run. I mean, that's we talked in the open about balance. And if you're going to build a perfect offense, you need speed and power. And the Tampa Bay Rays have both speed and power.
Well, the best individual players are the ones that have speed and power. Therefore, it makes sense that the best offensive teams would have that combination as well. Allows you to win the slugfest or to win that 3-2 game when you need to manufacture a run.
See, and the other part about the power that we talked about yesterday, falling behind so they couldn't steal bases. Power helps you come from behind. If you're behind 3-4 runs in the late innings, you're not going to usually put together 8 straight hits. You have to have some power to be able to come back from big deficits late in the ball game, and that's where power helps you also.
Big swing and a miss by Zobrist. The count is 1-2.
But, you know, when you look at a small market team like the Rays, you can't go into the free agent market and buy power. Power equals dollars as free agents. You need to develop it from within and catch lightning in a bottle. Ben Zobrist and Evan Longoria are the guys from within, and they caught lightning in a bottle with Carlos Pena.
Back to the mound, and the inning is over. But the speed, B.J. Upton, Carl Crawford, it came into play this inning, and the Rays have tied it. Going to the MLB page at ESPN.com and voting for the right-handed starting pitcher on our 20th All-Star team. And according to your votes, the winner is, in a landslide, baseball's all-time strikeout leader and the man who is the president of this team right here in Arlington, Nolan Ryan. Go to ESPN.com tomorrow to make your pick for the left-handed pitcher, and that will be announced 1 week from tonight here on Sunday Night Baseball. What's your best "you were facing Nolan Ryan" story?
Well, I like to say he was my teammate. We were teammates on the Astros, and actually one of my most enjoyable teammates I ever had, because he was far different than we viewed him, you know, and then I viewed him from afar, you know, and when you become a teammate of his, you become a friend. He's really a good teammate.
5,714 strikeouts, not to mention 7 no-hitters.
I was never in the no-hitter, but I was in that 5,000.
A drive to left center field, past Upton all the way to the fence. Michael Young into second base with a leadoff double. Let's check in now back in the studio. Here's Steve Revere. The Dodgers and the Mets, Wednesday Night Baseball this week here on ESPN. Michael Young at second to begin the bottom of the third. The batter is David Murphy, who had a base hit his first time up. The curveball over the outside corner from Matt Garza, who's got A stuff. I mean, when you talk about the movement on his fastball, the slow curve, and Garza is looking to win his 3rd consecutive start, something he has never done at the major league level. Elevates with a fastball, and it's 0-2.
Well, the thing for Matt Garza is that he sometimes does not command his fastball, and he finds himself in hitters' counts, and that's where he gets into trouble, where he can be predictable. If you can look for that fastball in a 2-0, 3-1 count, you've got a better chance to hit it. He's got unhittable breaking stuff, but he has to get to the right count to be able to use it. This is a good count to use it.
And he does, and he gets lined up the middle of the base hit. Young's going to be held at third. And the crowd kind of groaning about that a little bit. They wanted Young sent home, but Texas will play it safe, first and third, nobody out.
I would wonder why he wasn't sent home as well. But they respect the arm of B.J. Upton in center field. But I definitely thought he could score. There's a breaking ball pretty much in the middle of the plate. Didn't do much. And Young got a good break there. I mean, he's around third before Upton gets the ball, but playing it safe with no one out.
So 0-2 pitch. He's trying to bounce that curveball. Right?
It looked like a little slider. You've got to bury that in on his hands or down to his back foot. He just hung it over the middle of the plate.
I don't think you can bounce it, Dan, because there's a runner second, but you have to make sure it's not in the middle of the plate. Let's just put it that way.
Here's Marlon Byrd. Texas looking to reclaim the lead after the Rays just tied it in the top half. Byrd takes the fastball inside. An infield hit and an RBI for Byrd in the first inning. When Josh Hamilton comes back, now you got 4 outfielders for 3 spots. You've got Byrd, you've got Murphy, you've got Nelson Cruz, and you've got Hamilton. So Ron Washington will have to get a little bit creative. And the DH spot is normally a platoon of Hank Blaylock and Andrew Jones.
Well, that's where the heat will help you.
You got an excuse to sit somebody out.
You got an excuse, exactly.
2-0.
Well, with Chris Davis struggling at first base, there's some thought Hank Blaylock could place him first, which might free up some at-bats in the DH spot. But listen, keeping everybody hungry and everybody sharp during the dog days here in August is not a bad thing to have that kind of flexibility in your roster.
Jim Hickey, the pitching coach, on his way to the mound to try to settle down Garza, who has not had his A game going so far here tonight.
Well, he's given up 3 runs or less in his last 11 starts, but you're right. He's in danger of getting in trouble here with no one out.
I see Garza with his glove over his mouth talking to Hickey, not wanting anybody to see. But remember, this is the place where Deandre Navarro and Matt Garza had their little run-in a couple years ago where they got into each other's face, then went into the dugout, and it went from there. But it was really from that point that Navarro and Garza got themselves in sync with how to work together.
Later on last season, on August the 15th last year, Garza threw a 2-hit shutout right here. But a much different story in the early going here tonight. No! Check swing, ball 3.
Well, that's a good fastball there with movement. But he did not want to throw it in the middle of the plate with Byrd sitting dead red 2-0.
Especially Marlon Byrd hitting .359 with runners in scoring position this year.
Young at third, Murphy at first.
Ball 4.
Ball 4, bases loaded.
I was wondering if he would let him swing 3-0 there. He did Blaylock earlier in the game. I think it's more advantageous to the Rangers to let Blaylock swing 3-0 than it is Marlon Byrd.
Michael Young started the inning with a double. Took third on the base hit by David Murphy. That hit coming on an 0-2 pitch. And now the walk to Marlon Byrd has loaded the bases. Nobody out. And here's the aforementioned Blaylock, who had the count 3-0 in his favor and then wound up striking out his first time up. But as you can see, 17 home runs. He is still a threat.
Well, he'll try to stay away from the fastball, I believe, until he has to throw it. Ball. We're almost hitting with one.
This year, Matt Garza with runners in scoring position, holding the opposition to 176 batting average. So he elevates his game when he gets in a jam. But to do it, he's going to have to command his fastball. If he can't throw that for a strike, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Well, he got a pitch to hit right there, and he fouled it back 1-1. Friday night, bottom of the 4th inning. Hank Blaylock got a hanger from Scott Kazmir and hit it out for a 2-run homer. The biggest hit of the game as the Rangers won the opener of this series 3-1.
Well, see, Garza's fastball is lively enough, though, that he can throw it to any hitter he wants. See, even as good a hitter as Blaylock is there, the movement on his fastball, he can get away with that. He doesn't have to hit each corner or, be knee-high, low and away. He just has to stay out of the middle of the plate and let his movement take advantage of the hitter.
Way outside with the fastball, 2-2.
I didn't think that was a good pitch to throw in that situation. I mean, if you're going to throw that fastball there, throw it inside again. I mean, throwing it out away, more than likely going to miss with it because it's tailing away. and you're just throwing another pitch. With the bases loaded, 1 and 2, try to end the at bat right as soon as you can. You do not want to go deeper into the count.
Now the 2-2 curveball yanked foul. You never want to put too much importance on one game, but for Tampa Bay, they've lost 3 in a row, lost the first 2 of this series. The Red Sox won today. The Yankees won today. And they'd love to salvage the final game here and at least keep pace with the 2 teams they're chasing in the American League East. Oh, they got him to chase.
Curveball. I mean, that ball was thrown harder. It registers like it was a softer curve, but that ball had a lot of movement on it, late movement. And let's take a look. There's the fastball up and in. Fastball in the middle of the plate. Another fastball in, away. This is the pitch I really didn't like. Curveball in. Hits it foul now. This is a curveball, I guess, away. But it was different than the other curveball.
Now, Joe, do you think, remember, Blaylock struck out looking at that curveball in his first at bat. In that situation, I mean, that pitch wasn't anywhere close to the plate. Did he think to himself, I've got to be aggressive there?
Well, I think he was looking curveball. And what happens when you look for a breaking ball and they throw it, you'll chase it. That's the real problem. You know, when
Nelson Cruz, the batter now.
So when you talk to a hitting instructor, he will tell you, you work off the fastball. You look for the fastball and work off of it. Make the adjustment to the curveball. But that doesn't keep hitters from looking for pitches. A lot of times you'll look for a pitch. Like you say, struck him out with a curveball the time his first at bat. He figures he's going to get another one. And he does get another one, but it's so far out of the strike zone that he still goes ahead and chases it.
Right over the outside corner with a breaking ball, and Garza may be back on his game right now, out in front 0-2.
We see Cruz, a low ball hitter, and he gets a little slider down in the zone right there, but freezes up on it. Finds himself in a hole.
Bases loaded, 1 out. And the president of the team, Nolan Ryan, looking on. Ground ball to first, and dropped at second. Bartlett just dropped it. A run will score, and the Rays don't get anybody.
If I had one thing I could change about the rules of the game, it would be this play at second base. I don't believe the guy should ever be able to drop the ball, even though they will claim that you're taking it out of the glove sometimes. I don't believe you should be able to drop the ball and still get an out. He never caught this ball. You can see he was looking away. It looked like he was looking at first base. He took his eyes off the ball. Looked like he was trying to see whether he could go to first base or maybe come off and go to third.
I think he had visions of if Garza got to first base, he might be able to turn the double play, but it was hit so slowly. I think the double play was ruled out. You've got to get an out there.
Fielder's choice and an RBI for Cruz. Error on Bartlett, allowing Bird to reach second. 3-2 Texas. Saltalamacchia now. This is a real test for Garza. Not only the heat and how much he's having to exert himself this inning, but at times, as talented as he is, guys, he's still young. He still sometimes battles his emotions out there a little bit.
And things like this force him to think a little bit too much sometimes. But see, there's what I'm talking about with his fastball. He can get away with that fastball, and it's right there.
Catch made by Zobrist out in shallow right center for the second out.
I mean, he's got such good stuff that he can get away. Watch, this is we would think this is a hitter's pitch. Look at it's right there, and watch. Saltalamacchia can't get to it. Look at that. That's a 1-0 pitch, which means you're looking fastball. You're looking dead red. He throws it a little bit up in the zone, and you can't get to it. And to me, that's the strength of Garza, and that's why I said when he attacks the strike zone, not necessarily trying to hit the edges, I think he's at his best.
That's why Joe Madden gets frustrated when he scatters the fastball and tries to trick people with the breaking ball. He says his fastball does have that swing and miss to it. Throw it over the plate and let hitters try to chase it.
So 2 down now with the bases loaded. The bat of the first baseman, Chris Davis. And up and away with the fastball, ball 1. Davis with a fly ball out to left field his first time up, but he did advance a runner who eventually came to the score on a sac fly. A run in the inning. The Rangers, though, had the bases loaded with nobody out. If Garza gets out of it, giving up just one, almost a moral victory for him. Well, to throw strikes, though, to a guy who's only hitting 200 and is striking out more often than anybody in baseball.
When a guy strikes out a lot, pitchers, when they're going to throw him a fastball, they try to throw it harder. They seem to, it doesn't come out as fast. It does, when you overthrow, you really do not get more velocity. You get less velocity.
The 2-0. And a ground ball to first. Garza over to cover, and the inning is over. They load him with nobody out, but get just one. 3-2 Texas at the end of 3. Yeah, he is headed to the All-Star game for Tampa Bay. Are you ready for the 2009 Major League Baseball All-Star game? Catch all the action live from St. Louis Tuesday, July 14th at 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. This one counts. Joe Madden thought about winning this game when he started picking his team. He was thinking about versatility and guys who could help him win the game. He knows it's in a National League park, playing by National League rules. So Ben Zobrist, yes, he's one of his own. He's a Ray, but he can play 6 different positions. He's a switch hitter. Michael Young added from Texas. Kevin Youkilis going again. Justin Amorno going again. Curtis Granderson is going to the All-Star game. Steve, you talked about Aaron Hill and the incredible year that he is having. So many good second basemen in the American League this year. Pat Burrow leading off the 4th for Tampa Bay. They're down 3-2.
It was interesting talking to Joe Madden about he's already game planning the All-Star game. He's thinking about, well, if you have to play it to win, National League Park.
There's a base hit through the right side for Burrow.
Madden's talking about how am I going to try to win this game, and I need versatility, but there may be a situation early in the game that you're going to hit for the pitcher. And you're going to take that player out of the game and not make a double switch. So you need somebody that you might look to hit a home run. Maybe Carlos Pena fits that role as one of the extra players. But Sean Figgins and his versatility and Brandon Inge, that played well into a National League sort of a ball game as well.
Sean Figgins and Carlos Pena both among the players up for consideration by you, the fans, for the last spot in the American League All-Star team. The other's Brandon Inge of Detroit, who's having a terrific year. Adam Lind in Toronto, who's well on his way to 60 RBIs before the All-Star break. And Sean Figgins of the Angels. Weak ground ball to first. Davis spins and fires to get the lead runner Burrow. Gross aboard on a fielder's choice. And as mentioned, the final man vote. Figgins, Inge, Kinsler, Lind, and Pena. Who would you guys pick?
You know what?
It's the first time you guys are quiet all night long.
I'll tell you what, if I'm managing the game, I'm taking Sean Figgins because I can play him at third, I can play him in the outfield, and I've got all kinds of power bats in my lineup. I'm going to take a guy who can help me get on, get over, get in, hit and run, bunt, do something to win the game, something small.
Okay, so you're choosing your player on the basis of the game counts.
Yes.
Is that the way it should be done, or should it be done on the basis of who is the most deserving to go to the All-Star game?
You asked me. I'm using my own rules.
There goes the runner, and it's fouled back by Bartlett. What about you, Joe?
Well, I'm more in tune of who should go to the All-Star game. I don't think that this one should count, but that's none. They didn't ask me. I'm a little more prone to the second baseman there, obviously, but Sean Figgins would be the other for me too, because he can play all of those positions and he adds some speed to the lineup. Kinsler adds some speed and he adds some power. So those two guys would work for me because you're adding some speed to your offense.
This guy's going. Jason Bartlett will be one of 4 Rays who will be there. 5 if Pena goes. Bartlett with a fly ball to right field. Cruz there to make the catch, 2 down. How about the National League reserves? Just looking at position players right now. We'll get to the pitchers a little bit later. The National League reserve position players. Prince Fielder, of course, having a sensational year. If it weren't for Albert Pujols, Prince would be getting a lot more attention than he's getting. 4 first basemen with Pujols, Fielder, Gonzalez, and Ryan Howard. Orlando Hudson having a great season. Ryan Zimmerman is the Washington representative. Brad Hopp having a great year for Colorado. And as mentioned, Justin Upton, the little brother of B.J. Upton, hitting well over 300. Good production for Arizona. He is going. Deanna Navarro, the batter, with 2 outs and a man at first. 3-2 Rangers, top of the 4th. And just like in the American League, there are 5 players up for consideration for the last spot on the National League All-Star team. One of whom, Pablo Sandoval, has kind of caught the imagination around the Bay Area, Joe. So you see Sandoval playing for the Giants. He's up among the leaders in batting in the National League.
Well, Kung Fu Panda would get my vote. He's affectionately called that in the Bay Area, and maybe I am a little prejudiced because I see him play more than I do anyone else, but he is a very good player, and he's done a great job for the Giants, who are chasing the Dodgers. The Giants have a very good record. They have a winning record. But if you look at that, I mean, most of those guys are pretty good players on there. They all may deserve to go, but there are only so many spots.
I think if you're looking for the guys who put up the numbers, Sandoval hitting .333 in the season. I mean, he's having a great year. Victorino's the guy that I like because he gives you that combination of power and speed. I think it allows you to win the game, and I think he offers a little more versatility to do that.
1-2, the count on Navarro. Tampa Bay scored 2 runs in the 3rd inning without the benefit of a hit. The speed of Upton and Crawford coming into play. They only got 2 hits so far through 3 2/3 off Feldman.
How about the AAU summer team in the Chesapeake, Virginia area that at one point had Ryan Zimmerman, who's an all-star, David Wright, who's an all-star, Mark Reynolds, who's one of the final 5, and B.J. Upton, all on one team in a summer league team. They're teenagers.
So 3 of those 4 guys are currently third basemen. So who played where? Do you know who played where on that team?
I think that Zimmerman actually played short.
Yeah.
Wright played third, and Reynolds played second base, I believe, at the time, or first base, because Upton also at the time was an infielder as well.
That's pretty good infield.
Nice problem to have right there.
Pretty good infield.
It remains 2-2 on Navarro. One thing that Joe Madden is focused on a lot for his team, you can see the numbers there for Navarro, hitting with 2 strikes. He says you rarely ever hit a home run with 2 strikes, so why not try something different? There goes the runner, and a swing and a weak ground ball back to first. He wants his guys just to make some contact and see what happens. Not a lot of contact there from Navarro as the inning is over. We'll visit with Joe Madden 60 seconds from now. Welcome in the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays and of the American League All-Star team, Joe Madden. Thanks for the time, Joe.
No problem, guys. Joe, take us through a little bit. Obviously, the All-Star team's being announced today, 32 of the 33 players. Take us through the process and what was the most difficult decision in the end for you on your roster.
Well, the whole process, you have to wait until the fan vote is in and the player vote is in, and then you see what the residuals are. And then, of course, there's going to be certain teams without a selection, so you have to pay attention to that first. And after you do that, it seemed like we had, I think, 5 pitchers left and 3 position players. So you had to look at the teams that weren't represented. You had to fill those gaps and then move on from there. Probably the most difficult, if you look at the pitchers that were left off, you got Kevin Millwood with this team, J.P. Howe with us, and, say, Ardsman, Seattle. That was really difficult, I thought.
Well, you got 2 runs today, Joe, as a result of speed. Do you love speed?
Speed kills, man. You know, it never takes a vacation, and that's a big part of our offense. It's a big part of our overall organizational philosophy. We're trying to nurture that within the minor leagues also. In regard to that particular play, I'm sure you guys noticed Carl tagging up at second base. I thought was a great play, and the fact that he's matured so much as a baseball player, that is a play that maybe was not in his arsenal 2 or 3 years ago. I loved it.
Joe, good luck tonight. We'll see you in St. Louis.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Joe Madden, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays. And the man who was given the job by virtue of the Rays making the World Series last year of choosing the American League All-Star team. As Elvis Andrus takes outside ball 1. Now, he talked about Kevin Millwood, a guy right here in Texas who he wishes he could have put on the team. Did he seem a little twitchy to you, Steve, that he was making sure nobody was following him from behind here?
Well, listen, Ron Washington handled the right way. He defended his guy, and Joe Madden, one of the first things he said to us in the clubhouse was exactly what he talked about there, is that, Kevin Millwood's having a great year. I would have loved to consider it. I thought the one spot on the roster was the Tim Wakefield spot, but he immediately dismissed that when we talked to him. He said, listen, Lifetime Achievement Award, the guy's 42, and he deserves to get in. And I think we all understand the logic that went into that one.
Tim Wakefield, I believe, becoming the second oldest first-time All-Star ever. I think Satchel Paige is the oldest, and Tim Wakefield, who's 42 years old, going to the All-Star game.
And we don't know how old Satchel was.
No. 2-1 the count on Andrews, leading off the bottom of the 4th. Marty Aronoff telling us Satchel Paige was 52 years old at the time. There's a line drive base hit to get it started here in the bottom of the 4th. Time to go back to the studio Sports Center right now with Steve Berthune. Well, it'll certainly make things a little more interesting in Boston.
And in the entire NBA.
Yep.
In the East, especially.
And just great stuff from Wimbledon today, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to make a comment here. I grew up in California, and I think the longest journey that any athletes have taken is the journey that Serena Williams and Venus have taken. From the hard courts in Compton, California, to being the Queen of England box today. To me, that's the longest journey anyone has ever taken, and you see what they've done along the way.
Kinsler taps it back to the mound. Low throw, scoots past the bag. Garza went for the lead runner, and they don't get anybody. And Tampa Bay, so good defensively last year, not playing the same kind of defense, Steve, this year.
They've been a little reckless this year defensively. And guys who made plays last year haven't gotten it done as efficiently this year. And Joe Madden, absolutely disappointed there. But you see Garza, the ball comes right back to him. He comes off the mound, tries to get himself in a position, but there's no step and throw on that one. He rushes it, feeling like he's got to try to get the out there. If you can't step and make some sort of an accurate throw, and you've got to rush it flat-footed, off-balance, sidearm, then you've got to go to first base and get it out. You just can't do it. Elvis Andrus is a guy that can run a little bit. If you've got to rush it that much, get the out at first base and pitch yourself out of the inning.
There is no error charged on the play, just a straight fielder's choice is the official scoring, but everybody would agree you got to get an out somewhere on that play.
Well, what happens is once you release the ball, you become a fielder. When you catch the ball, you become an infielder. That's crow hop that you're talking about, the little crow hop or step where you're going. And if you don't have time to do that, take the out at first base.
That's where speed impacted the game on the other side for the Tampa Bay Rays. Elvis Andrus is a guy who can run.
Michael Young came into his last at bat, just 1 for 12 in his career against Garza, but he doubled and scored last inning as he tries to extend the Rangers lead here at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. A beautiful night here in Texas.
What do the Cowboys call that sky? There's a word for it here in Texas, other than beautiful.
I don't know.
Obviously, I don't either, but I know there's a word for it.
Beautiful works for me, though.
Yeah. And we're not exactly rushing in to help you right now, are we? You're on your own on this one.
I noticed that. Yeah. Wait a minute, I noticed that. I was on my own. Yeah.
I was trying, Joe.
But there's something they call it. I'll think of it in a second.
Let me just say this. John Miller probably would have known the word.
I'll think of it in a minute. I'll think of it in a second.
Dan, John Miller would have known the word.
Are you talking about the song Deep in the Heart of Texas? Is that what you're searching for?
Now you got me.
All right, we're warming up.
But there's a verse in there about the sky. See, you understand. There's something about the
That's
sky.
as far as I can go.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
There is deep in the heart of Texas.
They're working on it
Sing
down
it,
in the
Joe.
truck. Just sing it through, and then eventually that line will come out.
Well, they're going to sing it in probably the 7th inning or so, right? So let me listen.
All right.
I'm giving away that I am a Texan, but you know I was born here.
2 on, nobody out. And the 2-2 to Michael Young. Curveball misses outside. Full count.
Interesting decision right here for Ron Washington. Outstanding contact hitter in Michael Young at the plate. Andrus, a guy who can run. 16 stolen bases, been caught once. Ian Kinsler, 16 stolen bases, been caught twice. So you've got speed on the bases, a contact hitter in a situation where Garza needs to throw it over the plate. I think they run.
One of the most productive hitters in baseball the last 6 years, Michael Young. They are not running, and it's ball 4 to load the bases. And now Matt Garza's really frustrated. He's had a difficult night. A couple of fielding plays, a hit batter, some walks, and he's just trying to keep it together right now and get out of yet another bases loaded, nobody out situation.
Steve, you're probably correct in why you wouldn't to run there. A lot of teams would have. I think Madden would have. The one reason teams do not run is because the line drive. Now it's automatically a triple play. And you see Garza struggling out there. You don't want to get him out of this inning with one pitch. And that would be the reason, the only reason I wouldn't run, is that if you run first and second, nobody out, line drive, inning over.
Yeah, no, it's a risk. I guess I look at it from Texas. They've been struggling to score runs. And I'm thinking, you know what? You've got the lead. So even if you get out of it, you've got the lead at the time. So, yeah, I think I understand why not to do it. You got swing and miss stuff at times with Garza as well, but with Michael Young, pretty good contact guy.
Andrus at third, Kinsler at second, Young at first. The Rangers have scored a run in each of the first 3 innings, looking for a big inning here against a laboring Matt Garza. The batter is David Murphy. He's 2 for 2. He chased a high fastball and he fouls it back. How often do you see, Joe, guys expand their strike zone when they're up there with a chance to drive in a lot of runs?
Well, unfortunately, you don't expand it on that high fastball at Garza because you're not going to handle it. I think it's just the opposite. You should be more patient, especially the first pitch. You look for a pitch in the middle of the plate, right where you can drive it. If you don't get that pitch, you take it. And if he misses with it, then you narrow your strike zone one more. And then when it goes 2-0, you continue to shrink your strike zone.
0-2. Throw down to third. Runner back.
See, you swing it one high and then you take the strike. I don't know.
I did that my entire 7-year minor league career, Joe. I was 0-2 more than any hitter ever in the history of the game. I'm like, you could send up a gorilla up there and he wouldn't end up 0-2 as much as I was 0-2.
I had a conversation today where, you know, the 2 good hitting instructors here, Rudy Jaramillo, of course, the most famous, Steve Henderson, of course, with the Tampa Bay Rays. And I talked to him about these types of situations. And he was saying just that a lot of times guys will swing at the bad fastball and take the good one. And his philosophy is obviously you look for the fastball and work off the fastball to the breaking ball.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Garza has thrown nothing but fastballs to Murphy in this at bat. The Rangers looking for that break it open hit here in the 4th inning. Fastball hit high in the air, right center field. It'll be Upton to make the catch. Tagging at third is Andrews. He'll come in to score. Kinsler on his way to third and in there safely. Sac fly, 4-2 Texas.
Good job there to get up on that fastball to put it in play, because that was a good high fastball from Garza. He was throwing to strike him out. You have two ways to strike him out, either upstairs out of the strike zone or breaking ball low. You don't want to do that because you don't want to bounce the ball. Here's a high fastball, and he's able to put it in play. But Garza was going for the strikeout there. 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and a good job there by Murphy.
And just as important is Kinsler coming to third. Now another fly ball. They get another run.
But I would have liked Michael Young to tag up and go to second base on that. Upton came up through all the way to third base. I think they left second base open for him. Now a double play gets you out of an inning.
There was no cutoff man either. No one got in position for the cutoff. So he should have tagged up and gone to third.
Marlon Byrd is the batter. He's had an infield hit that drove in a run, and he's also walked. So now the Rangers have scored a run in each of their first 4 innings, but they left 2 men on in the first. They left the bases loaded in the third, so they've had their chances to do even more damage against Garza.
The Rangers have hit into the fewest ground ball double plays this year because they're a fly ball hitting team. They tend to hit the ball in the air. Marlon Byrd especially, a guy who tends to lift the ball, so they don't hit into a lot of double plays, but still, why leave the opportunity there for the Rays to turn it?
Now Garza, his own worst enemy at times tonight.
Well, he's competing against himself instead of competing against the Rangers. You see the emotion, the frustration there.
He's thrown 76 pitches through 3 1/3. But as you say, Joe, he's got swing and miss stuff even when you know what's coming.
And that high fastball, I mean, it's tough to hit. That's why you have to give Murphy credit for getting up on top of that fastball. See, that's pretty much the same pitch that Murphy hit with 2 strikes, and you see Marlon Byrd can't catch up with it, and he didn't have any strikes on him, so he was sitting dead red.
High fly ball, center field, plenty deep enough. Upton back. Kinsler tagging. Another sac fly. 5-2 Texas.
And we talked earlier about how fundamentally sound Texas has been. They're no longer the power team that just drives the ball out of the ballpark, but they can manufacture runs. They get them on, move them over, and get them in.
Well, you see 3 sac flies tonight. Another run is scored on a fielder's choice, and the other run has scored on an infield hit. A little dribbler passed them out. That's how the Rangers have their 5 runs tonight. They're winning games in ways they didn't used to win games, by executing offensively, by playing better defense, by getting better pitching. They're not quite the murderer's row they used to be as Blaylock takes a strike.
And Ron Washington has been in trouble the last 2 years at the beginning of the season. He told me that was one of the things he had to try to change when he got here. The fundamentals. Make the fundamental plays in the field, fundamental plays running the bases, and fundamental plays at bat. Hitting in, situational hitting.
Ron Washington, one of the most motivational managers in the game. He was a great coach for a team. He's a great cheerleader for his players. Very inspirational guy, one of the better teachers in the game among major league managers.
Coached you in the minors, huh?
I was actually, when I was minor league director for the Mets, he was one of my coaches in the minor leagues, one of my minor league managers as well. And tell you what, he is some kind of guy, and he is a great student of the game, and I just love him. I love his energy. I mean, I want to play for him, listening to him talk. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid for the Texas Rangers because Wash can sell it.
Blaylock rips it down the right field line, but foul.
The one thing he said, you know, the month of June, we weren't hitting. People thought we were sinking ship, but nobody knew we had a button we could turn into a submarine and we're coming back. I mean, that's how he talks. And it's like, I mean, he is what you see is what you get. You see the numbers there. Obviously, through 79 games the last few years. And he said they're not going to tail off like they have in the past here because they've got better personnel to compete.
It's always seemed like he hasn't had a whole lot of job security, but they did pick up his option earlier this year for next season, so he signed now through 2010. And this is a team kind of starving for a winner. They haven't been to the playoffs since 1999. They've only had one winning season in the last 9 years. But again, if they win tonight, they are tied with the Angels for top spot in the American League West at the midway point of the season, going to Anaheim for a big 3-game series that starts tomorrow night. So combination of Ron Washington, Nolan Ryan, Mike Maddox, the pitching coach. The inning is over on the third strikeout of the night by Blaylock. But 2 runs for the Rangers. They lead 5-2. We will visit with Ron Washington right after this short timeout.
Ron, well, you guys have been here before. You've gotten off to some good starts. What's different about this team?
Well, I think the difference is this team is, we're pulling together, and everyone is getting an opportunity to be a part of everything. And, we're starting to monitor the heat. We're starting to not be out in it so much. We may do it the first game of each series, and then we do the rest inside. And so far it's been working. And, our pitching has been pretty good. Our defense has been pretty good. And when you got those two things on a constant, you got to feel good about what's ahead.
Well, Ron, we always think about the Texas Rangers and power bats and offense, but tonight the offense, you've been manufacturing runs a little bit. Is that part of what you're trying to instill in this young team?
Without a doubt. You have to play the game according to the way it's presented to you when you come out at night. And tonight, we just had to execute some situations to get some runs on the board, and we've done that. And hopefully before it's all over with, we can get some big stuff. We had guys in trouble, but he keep wiggling his way out.
Ron, thanks for the time. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ron Washington, the manager of the Rangers. Garza's done some wiggling tonight, but the Rangers have had some productive outs, and they are leading 5-2 as we go to the top of the 5th. Top of the order for Tampa Bay. B.J. Upton a swing and a miss against Scott Feldman.
Well, the interesting thing there for me is that he said they're starting to monitor the heat. See, I don't think there's any doubt that does affect this team, down the stretch, because as we mentioned, it's so hot here, humid, and you start playing the game. I mean, you take batting practice, you do all these things, and somewhere along the line you run out of gas.
1-2.
The other thing, talking to Ron Washington, the other thing he said is we didn't have the personnel the last couple of years to be able to sustain success. He said we've got the players now, and they're giving up over a run less this year per game than they did a year ago. So the pitching is much, much better. And they feel like Kinsler has really tailed off. He's going to get hot. Josh Hamilton hasn't given them anything so far this year. He's going to add to the offense. So they're really thinking that, we've got something to look forward to this year. We've got better performance coming from some of our key players.
And they're also, and this has not always been the case, considered to have one of the better minor league organizations right now. There's some talent coming through the system right now that should help them. Anders, the shortstop, picked up in the trade with Atlanta. Now coming to the majors as a 20-year-old. Upton with a fly ball to center field. Bird is there, one down. Joe, The prairie sky is high and wide.
See, I knew there was something that was different. I mean, other than just saying it's a beautiful sky. I knew the Texans had their own way of calling it beautiful.
It's high and wide.
All right.
Because everything is bigger in Texas.
You're correct. You're right.
The brooms aren't quite as long in Texas. I don't know.
Here's Carl Crawford. And yes, the Rangers are looking for a sweep tonight. Difficult play deep in the corner. Foul ball beyond the reach of David Murphy. Tampa Bay's heading home after this game. They've got the day off tomorrow before they begin a series with Toronto. The Rangers will fly out after the game tonight to Anaheim and have a 3-game series with the Angels. Tampa Bay, a tough April for the Rays this year. They started the season 8-14. One of the reasons why B.J. Upton was coming back from the shoulder surgery and wasn't hitting at all. The pitching wasn't as good then as it has become. But Tampa Bay hot the last couple of months. Even with the 3 losses in a row right now, they're still 36-24 since April the 30th. And they have made some headway in the American League East. Tough division there. 2-2.
It didn't surprise me that they got off to a slow start, Dan, because one of the problems with young teams or inexperienced teams is you had such a great year the year before, you just think things will fall in place as they did the year before. And it takes a while to go back and start from zero. They had to start from zero after being in the World Series, and that's tough to do. It's tough to go out there and just start even with everybody else. We got to the World Series last year. We were special. And you just feel like things are going to happen for you and fall into place. And it doesn't. And they lost some leadership, in my opinion. And that's one of the reasons I thought they could get off to a slow start.
Blooper into center field and a base hit for the Major League's leading base stealer, Carl Crawford.
I think the other thing that's happened, too, though, is that they're playing with expectations this year. And last year they snuck up on everybody. I think this year, you know what, people are kind of gunning for them a little bit, like they're going to be gunning for him right here with Carl Crawford on first base in a running situation. And see if he gets a read off Scott Feldman and gets a jump.
I thought they lost some leadership, as I mentioned, with Cliff Floyd as well, because I thought he really helped some of these young guys in to adjust to playing in the major leagues and playing in a pennant race.
Crawford with that base hit now has a 13-game hitting streak, and he and B.J. Upton combined on a double steal back in the 3rd inning. Let's see if Crawford is on the move here. The batter, Evan Longoria.
On asking Joe Madden about Upton and Crawford, the other guys on their team stealing bases, how much he takes into account the pitcher's release time to home plate. He says, you know what, we really do. Even with our fast guys, we really do. If a guy's 1.2 seconds in his release to home plate, it makes it tough. You know, when you're trying to defend the base stealer, your pitcher needs to be quicker to the plate. A lot of times you're looking for 1.4 seconds or less. 1.3 or less is even better. And the catcher's release from glove to glove throwing the ball 2 seconds or less is what you're shooting for.
And you can do all those things, Steve, and the guy can still steal
base, right? I mean,
because if you're a good base stealer, these numbers mean nothing to you, and those numbers are good there, as you mentioned.
You see what it is. Pitcher to the plate, 1.4 seconds release as the pitcher starts from the stretch and gets the ball to the catcher. And then from the catcher, the time he catches the ball and he can throw it to the shortstop or second baseman at the bag, 2 seconds, totaling 3.4. And the question is, can the runner beat that time?
And what the runner has to do is, if you have all those things in place, meaning you have a guy that quick delivers to the plate, you have a good throwing catcher, what you do as a base stealer is you make that ground up at first base. You get a little bigger lead. You make sure that you get a great start. And you can't outrun the baseball, of course, but you can beat that time, because it's very difficult for the catcher to make that throw perfectly every time. You know, that's one of the toughest things to do. Get rid of it quickly and also throw it accurately. If the guy throws the ball high, then that 2.9 seconds, even though he got it there in 2.9, if it's high, by the time he brings it down for the tag, it gives you the time to get in.
A broken bat liner caught at third, and Crawford maybe distracted a little bit between the bat and the ball, didn't pick it up, and he gets doubled off to end the inning. Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell from Texas, where the Rangers, who are looking to sweep the Rays, have a 5-2 lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. And the big key for the Rangers tonight, the leadoff man has reached and scored in all 4 innings. There's Nelson Cruz. And 4 of the 5 runs have scored on something other than a hit. 3 sac flies, 1 fielder's choice. The 5th run coming on an infield hit that drove in a run. So the Rangers have gotten a ton of men on, and then they've had some productive outs to advance runners to score runners. On a play, 1-2 on Cruz. Time now for our Lowe's home team advantage, and no team has hit more home runs in its home ballpark than the Rangers have hit here since 1994. And again, this is a different kind of a team right now, but they still hit a lot of home runs. And you go back to the late 90s and the early part of this decade, and they hit a ton of home runs. Swing and a miss. Cruz is gone. A lot of talk over the years of a jet stream out toward right field, that the wind would come in, hit the stands, and then blow out hard to right. Also, a lot of big, powerful hitters and some weak pitching contributed to all the home runs that have been hit in this ballpark.
The major leagues were full of big, powerful hitters.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Not so much anymore.
Here's Saltalamacchia, 1 for 2. That's the 5th strikeout for Garza, including Hank Blaylock 3 times tonight. But Garza's really been battling it. High pitch count, falling behind. A couple of defensive mistakes by the Rays.
You know, to the point of lesser home runs now and maybe not as much power with performance enhancement drugs, I see it not only just with home runs, the ball carrying, I see it physically in players. Not any one individual player, but they're leaner necks, leaner shoulders, and guys aren't as thick as they were a couple years ago. So the anecdotal evidence is there as well. Body types are changing back to the way they were.
I think you also look at, especially in bullpens, every team used to have 2-3 guys throwing 95. Now a lot of guys are throwing 91. You got a lot of 91s and 92s, not as many 95s anymore.
Guys were throwing 95s multiple days in a row.
Yeah.
So it was the recovery that guys were having as well, and I think that's part of the issue right now.
Curveball bounced foul. The count remains 1-2 on Saltalamacchia.
Also talked earlier about Carlos Pena. You know, he's part of that final 5 vote. Well, if he doesn't make the All-Star game, he's leading the American League in home runs this year. It'll be the first time a player leading the American League in home runs doesn't make the All-Star game since 1993 when Nicky Tettleton was leading the American League with the Detroit Tigers. So that guy, that home run leader, tends to be an All-Star.
Good sharp slider there by Garza, and he strikes out Saltalamacchia for the 2nd out.
Well, it's interesting to see how different Garza is this inning, because he's throwing strike 1, and then that makes him effective with his other pitches, the other breaking balls, the curve balls, the change-ups, and the sliders. And as you mentioned, he had struggled so much earlier, he could not get into a pitcher's count. He was staying in hitter's counts.
So 3 consecutive strikeouts for Garza, 6 on the night, 2 outs, nobody on. And here's Chris Davis as Garza tries to keep the Rangers off the scoreboard for the first time in 5 innings.
Talked about Chris Davis earlier, talking around Washington. This young guy's really struggling. I mean, he's really struggling, coming in, hitting .201 with all of the strikeouts, most swings and misses. And I said, you know, what, do you get to a point you think about sending him to the minor leagues? He says, you know what? He's still contributing. He said, now, he came to me and he didn't think he was contributing. Ron Washington told him, you are. If you take a walk and you score a run, or you advance a runner, or you make a nice defensive play, those are the little things I'm looking for you to make contributions. I know you think hitting, 3 hits a game and hitting home runs is contributing. I'm looking for those little things to help us win. We saw Davis advance a runner earlier in the game that led to a run scored.
I'm in agreement with you and Ron on that. You make little contributions here and there to keep you going. But at some point, when do you waste what he could have been? I mean, if you continue to struggle, your confidence level continues to fall, especially when you strike out as much as he does. confidence is a big part of being a star in this league. And he looks like he has the ability to be a star. But how do you keep his confidence level from going too low when a guy strikes out? You know, he struck out, leads the major leagues in strikeouts. You know, and look at these numbers. I mean, Bo Jackson had 115, I guess. Ryan Howard had the most, and that was last year, but before the All-Star break. But I just wonder at some point, when does his confidence just get to a low that you have to do something? Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I'm just saying at some point you can't just let a guy keep struggling.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that they may be coming to that decision-making point right now. You've got Josh Hamilton coming back. We talk about what it does to clutter the outfield and the DH spot where maybe Hank Blaylock can get some time. But maybe you take the All-Star break where you can send him, let him keep playing a little bit to go down to the minor leagues and see if he can't regroup, because he's a little lost at the plate. I don't think there's any question about it.
Grounded to Weekly, left side of the infield, charged by Longoria. Safe at first is Davis.
Well, you know, it's almost said, how can you send a guy down that plays the game like that? I mean, the hustle he just showed right there with 2 outs, nobody on base. The only thing he's got to learn is to run through the bag, because you don't get there as fast, you know, when you dive. But, I mean, he hustles, and that's what you want from a guy. A lot of times when a guy's not hitting, they don't hustle or they don't do certain things. I mean, he gives everything he's got on this play. And, again, he dives, but I think, obviously, you can hurt your hands and everything else diving and hitting that bag. Just run through it, and you're going to be safe anyway.
Well, you can really risk hurting your hand there. But I'll tell you what, that shows me something.
Exactly.
Ron Washington guys play hard for him. I mean, you know what? They play hard. And that's a young guy who cares. He's disappointed that he hasn't performed. And that dive in the first base is more about, I'm just so frustrated at myself. I'm going to try to do everything I possibly can so that manager, skipper, Nolan Ryan, president of the team, general manager John Daniels, that I'm carrying and I want to stay in the major leagues.
Meanwhile, Matt Garza nearing 100 pitches. Just got a visit from his pitching coach, Jim Hickey, as the Rangers president. Nolan Ryan looks on. There is activity in the Tampa Bay pen. Right-hander Grant Balfour is throwing. Remember, the bullpen got a workout last night. Texas beat Tampa Bay 12-4 last night. Garza trying to get through the 5th inning here tonight. The batter is Elvis Andrus. Andrus is a guy, they thought so much of him, they moved Michael Young to third base, and Michael Young wasn't happy about that at the outset, but has adjusted, both in terms of getting more comfortable at the position and also accepting the move. Michael Young, one of the team leaders for the Rangers, and Elvis Andrus with a world of ability. 12 errors on the season, but a lot of them, young rookie mistakes, rushing a play or trying to make a play maybe that isn't makeable and winding up with an error instead of just holding on to the ball. But all the raw skills are there for Elvis Andrus, and a pretty good mentor in Omar Vizquel on the team to help him out.
And it takes time to learn to play shortstop in the major leagues.
Look, this kid's going to be a star. I mean, you can see he gets better every week. The season goes by. He's starting to figure it out. He's filled out physically. He was kind of a young, lean kid when he came up in the Braves organization. And I know Michael Young won the Gold Glove last year at the shortstop position. And, the Gold Gloves are great. This kid has a step and a half, maybe 2 steps more range than Michael Young has at the position. So some of the errors, he's getting the balls that Michael Young never got to last season.
Chase is here, and the inning is over. 7th strikeout for Garza. We're at the end of 5-2 Texas. AL home run leader Carlos Pena leads it off for the Rays when we come back.
Original spiced rum. Drink responsibly. Captain's orders. And Knowing and Push. Both available on DVD July 7th.
6th inning at Arlington. Rangers 5, Rays 2. Dan Schulman, Joe Morgan, Steve Phillips with you. The shift is on as Carlos Pena comes up. Takes down and away, ball 1. Pena 23 home runs to lead the American League. Hit 31 last year. Hit 46 the year before that. After almost having played himself right out of the major leagues, he was bouncing around from team to team, spending some time in the minors. He came up with Texas, actually, and then went to Oakland. Then he went to Detroit. Had a couple of good years there, was sent down by them. Wound up in the Yankee system for a while, wound up in the Red Sox system for a while. But he has found a home with Tampa Bay. The 2-0 from Scott Feldman. And it misses just inside, as you can hear from Hunter Wendelstedt. 3 balls, no strikes.
See Carlos Pena's numbers right there since 2007. Power bat, driving in runs. And, that's catching lightning in a bottle, getting a guy who's on his way out of the game. But now he's your cleanup hitter in your lineup.
And you notice no all-star appearances with those big numbers.
Tampa Bay Rays fans can change that, right? They can get online and vote him in.
The 3-1. And he lays off upstairs. Ball 4. Leadoff walk. MLB.TV, the ultimate baseball experience, featuring 100 out-of-market games per week live on your computer. For more details, visit MLB.TV, where baseball is always on. Activity now in the Rangers pen. Jason Jennings is up as Scott Feldman nears 100 pitches. He's at 97 right now through 5 innings plus a batter. Ben Zobrist is the hitter right now. We mentioned Nolan Ryan. One of the things he has worked on with the starting pitchers for Texas: conditioning, more running, more throwing, get deeper into games. There's a fly ball right center. Cruz over into the alley to make the catch. Zobrist retired. Pena back to the bag.
Tell you what, I have to be impressed by the job Scott Feldman's done so far in this game. And he's bent a little bit. He's not a big strikeout guy. The most he's ever gotten in a game is 5 strikeouts, so he pitches to contact. But this is a guy who used to be a sidearm, kind of a submarine pitcher, that they converted to get the ball back up top again. You don't see that very often. A lot of times when pitchers struggle overhand, one of the last ditch efforts you make is to start to drop down to see what you can do. But as a sidewinder, he struggled against left-handed hitters, so they brought him back up top. And it's paid off. He has enough movement on his fastball at 88, 99 miles or 90 miles per hour. Little cut fastball to keep hitters off center on the bat. He throws strikes, works quickly, keeps the defense in the game behind him. Does a nice job.
He's made 13 starts. This is number 14. In the first 13 starts with Texas this year, he's got an ERA of 3.39. He got hit hard as a reliever back in April, but moved into the rotation. And it looks like he's planning on staying there.
Really looks like he cuts every fastball he throws. It all has that movement kind of running away from the right-hander. A lot of times that sinker ball will run into the right-hander, down and in to try to get them to top it into the ground. But he seems like he cuts most of his fastballs.
I think that's the best pitch. I think that's his best pitch. There's some late movement. His cutter looks a little bit like Mariano Rivera's. He doesn't have the control yet that Rivera has of his, but it's a late moving across the zone, not a sharp down breaking slider, just a real cut fastball.
Full count. Right now, this Texas rotation, you know about Kevin Millwood, Vicente Padilla's in the rotation, Feldman, and then a couple of rookies, and Derek Holland and Tommy Hunter. That is the current group that is doing a very respectable job for the Rangers. 3-2. Line to second, throw to first, double play. Second time tonight that a Ray has been doubled off to end an inning. McGuire hitting a home run, one of the more memorable moments in the 20 years that ESPN has covered Major League Baseball. We're here in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Rangers leading the Rays 5-2, and Joe Madden is going to his bullpen for a very effective reliever, Grant Balfour, who has not given up a run in any of his last 10 appearances. A guy who can really bring it. A strikeout per inning for the Aussie.
He primarily runs that fastball up there, and it is a swing and miss pitch. It's got that late electric life to it. Good stuff.
Garza struggled through 5 innings tonight. He gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned on 7 hits, walked 2, struck out 7. Top of the order for Texas, Kinsler, Young, and Murphy. So Kinsler now 0 for his last 19 as this at-bat begins. One away from the longest 0-fer in his career.
Well, that might work for him. No.
Hit it to the wrong guy.
Great barehanded play there by Longoria. And that's so difficult because it's right down the line. And you can't really get a great angle on it to make your throw. You just have to throw this one across your body. Now watch, you see where Longoria starts. He has to come get it. And he does keep it on the side where he doesn't have to throw without any momentum going toward first base. So he kind of steps that way just a little bit. And a nice play by Pena at first base. It's interesting, Pena won a Gold Glove last year, but he's been struggling defensively with the rest of the Rays this year.
Not every third baseman makes that play. I mean, that is. I mean, he made it look easier than it really was. And I think also Chris Davis is probably saying to Ian Kinsler in the dugout, you know, if you dive head first in the first base, you might have a chance of being safe right there.
When things are going bad for you, that's what happens. Yeah. I mean, you can't buy a hit. You hit a little chopper like that, and in a lot of cases, they try to barehand it, and they can't come up with it, and you get a base hit.
So, Joe, I'm not implying you ever had an 0 for 20 in your career, but even the greats.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah, even the greats went through it. I mean, you can see how it's wearing on you.
Definitely. What
goes through your mind when you jog back to the dugout after this kind of a stretch?
You asked me about Nolan Ryan, and I have to tell this story. Nolan doesn't like for me to tell it, but, you know, I was playing with the Phillies, and I actually went 0 for 37. But my 37 was a little different because I walked twice a game, steal a base, score a run. That's why they kept playing me, you know, to get those many at-bats. And I came out of my slump. I hit a home run off Nolan Ryan in the Astrodome and beat him 1-0. He threw me a curveball, which I don't know why, but he threw me a curveball, and I hit a home run to break an 0 for 37 with the Phillies. 37, 32, somewhere in there. Anyway, I stopped counting actually after I got to 25, but I think I read someplace it was 37.
No wonder you like
32.
him so much.
No, but he was a teammate, and he did help me get out of that slump, though.
Well, as luck would have it, we talked to Nolan Ryan about his game plan, pitching to Joe Morgan.
I saw Joe early in my career, and then I saw him later in my career when I was back in the National League with the Astros. And Joe was a very good hitter from the standpoint he knew the strike zone, and if you threw him the ball middle of the plate down, he was going to have a pretty good hack at it. And so you tried to change speeds on him, and like all good hitters, you tried to not fall into any kind of pattern that you gave him the advantage.
So he's right, because I definitely wasn't looking for a curveball that time.
I was kind of looking for him to say, you know what, you dusted me.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Come on, Nolan, give me something.
Did he ever stick one in your ribs?
I don't think so. No.
You'd remember.
You'd still feel it.
Yeah, well, you're right. I remember. Look, I was a nice guy. I was a nice guy. Nolan was difficult for me for the reason that he said I was a good low ball hitter, and he had the high fastball. So I had to learn to lay off of it. So I did, and that's the only time I had any success with him, when I made him bring the ball down.
You want to know your career numbers again?
No.
Only if they're good.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I mean,
I don't have to do it.
No, go ahead. I mean, I got the home run off of him, so it can't be that bad. I got one home run, so.
You got 5 hits off it.
I did?
Yeah. You got him 5 times.
in how many at-bats, though. I know.
I don't have to tell that
Doesn't
part.
really matter, does it? I mean, 5 hits against Nolan Ryan.
It's 5 more than we got.
It is.
Okay, all right.
5 for 28, 179,
I figured
a homer and 5 RBIs.
I figured that.
You made the most of your hits. You drove in 5 runs with the 5 hits.
All right, good. I mean, he was obviously difficult for me because he was a high fastball pitcher, and I didn't hit the high fastball well.
And there's no documented evidence of him drilling you and you charging the mound and regretting that decision.
I would have regretted it, I'm sure.
Murphy lines the base hit into left field. Young up to second on the play.
Tell you what, David Murphy's had some quality at-bats in this game. 3 hits and a sacrifice fly. And again, we talked earlier how he got Matt Garza's high fastball to drive for a sac fly. Did a nice job on Belfour's high fastball going the other way right here. Doesn't try to do too much. And for kids out there thinking about going back up the middle, going the other way, using the whole field, that's how you end up hitting for a high average. Also, Murphy started the season 0 for 23.
Right.
And he didn't get down on himself. Ian Kinsler's got a role model on his team, hit behind him in the lineup, a guy who, listen, he went through his struggles early in the year. You'll get through it too.
When you think about your prototypical 3-4 hitters, you don't think about David Murphy and Marlon Byrd, but they're both productive, and tonight they've combined 4 for 4, a walk, and a couple of sac flies. Every single plate appearance they've had has resulted in something good for the Texas Rangers. Byrd takes down and away. The Rangers got a run in the first, a run in the second, a run in the third, 2 in the fourth. Didn't score in the fifth, but threatening again here in the sixth, already leading 5-2, looking to sweep the series and move back into a tie for top spot in the AL West with the Angels.
Well, a lot of times we talk about, well, you got to throw your fastball down in the zone. You talk about Nolan Ryan's fastball, Joe. The same thing with Garza's fastball and with Belfour's fastball, especially against the Marlon Byrds. Marlon Byrd has kind of that dip swing. He kind of loops his bat a little bit. The high fastball is where he's vulnerable.
When you look at Nolan Ryan's fastball, when it was upstairs, it had a little more giddy up than Garza's and Balfour's. I mean, Koufax, when they threw the ball upstairs, you did not have a lot of time to swing at it. And you chase it, you're just, you're out. But Nolan Ryan was a better pitcher than I think people gave him credit for. He wasn't just a thrower. I mean, he was a pitcher. He knew what he was doing out there on the mound.
The point has been made, too, with the number of innings. He would always go out there for another inning and another inning. He didn't only help you the day he pitched, he helped you the day before and the day after, because you knew you could use but you wouldn't need your bullpen a whole lot on his day, so you could use them more the day before and the day after.
Well, that's what a #1 pitcher does for you. That's what he's supposed to do. I had a discussion with Rick Sutcliffe about this once. He says a #1 pitcher, saves your bullpen for a day or two, and I think he's right. And, of course, Nolan Ryan, when he went out there, see, the problem, I think, with a lot of teams is people say they have a good bullpen, but it gets worn out. If you have to get 12 outs a day, every day, those outs come, that's wear and tear on the arms in the bullpen. That's why the Atlanta Braves were so good all those years. Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, they'd go out there for 7, 8, 9 innings. So your bullpen got a rest. So when they were called upon, they should have been fresh. So that makes a big difference, and I think we see that more and more today, where bullpens actually determine who win the game, and that's not the way the game is supposed to be played.
Full count on Byrd.
I'm still a big believer in starting pitching. That's still my, I still believe that's where the most important part of the game, as far as pitching is concerned.
I think Nolan Ryan would agree with you.
Yeah. And I learned that from being around guys like Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton, Tom Seaver, all these guys. I was around to watch the impact that they had on the pitching staff.
A swing and a miss, and Byrd is gone, 2 down.
That's that high fastball we were talking about right there.
Well, let's go back to Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter. 1991 against Toronto. Roberto Alomar at the plate, swings through it, and well into his 40s, right, when he threw that 7th no-hitter.
That was some high gas right there.
Yeah. 44 years old. Struck out 16 in that game. Joe Madden going to the bullpen again. Presented by Taco Bell with Steve Phillips and Joe Morgan. I'm Dan Schulman, sitting in for John Miller tonight, and this is Randy Choate. 20th appearance of the season. He has held lefties to 2 hits in 24 at-bats this year. That's why he has been summoned to face Hank Blaylock. First pitch swinging, ground ball to third, charged by Longoria, inning over. 1 pitch, 1 out. It's a good living for Randy Choate. Rays 5-2. Kind of a good crowd here on a Sunday night in Texas. New pitcher on for the Rangers, veteran right-hander Jason Jennings comes out of the pen for Scott Feldman. Feldman went 6 innings, gave up just 2 runs, only 1 of them earned tonight. And here comes Jennings, who of course has been a starter most of his career. His best years coming with Colorado.
Sinker, slider, change.
Missed most of last season after undergoing elbow surgery. Bottom third of the Tampa Bay lineup, Gabe Gross, Jason Bartlett, and Deanna Navarro. Tampa Bay went on a 7-game winning streak, lost their last game to Toronto before coming here. Now they've lost the first 2 here, in jeopardy of losing again tonight. The Red Sox won today. They beat Seattle. The Yankees won today. They beat Toronto.
I mean, there's 6 games behind the Red Sox in the loss column, and if they lose tonight, obviously 7, and 5 games behind the Yankees. You're not going to make those games up very quickly because both of those teams are starting to play well again.
Life in the American League East. The toughest division in baseball. Look at the movement of that pitch back over the inside corner. Gross is frozen. Let's go to Steve Berthiaume with the Sports Center right now. All right, Steve, thank you. And we wrap up the week in baseball here in Arlington tonight with the Rangers leading the Rays 5-2. Here's Jason Bartlett, a walk and a fly ball tonight for the Rays shortstop, who is headed to the All-Star game for the first time in his career. last year, the local writers down in Tampa St. Pete voted Bartlett as the team's most valuable player. And he had truly very ordinary numbers last year. A lot of guys had big years, Longoria and Pena and so forth. So we asked Joe Madden today what made him so special. He said, well, first of all, defense. I mean, he made all the plays at short. They don't go to the postseason without him. He really could execute offensively. Great base runner. And he said, but everything that he did last year, he's doing even better this year. He's improved in every facet of the game.
Well, he reminds me a little bit of Placido Polanco. He doesn't make mistakes. He knows how to play. He knows what he's supposed to do. I remember watching him last year in situational hitting where he needed to get the ball in the air. He'd get the sacrifice fly. He would get the job done.
A bouncer to second. Kinsler on the first 2 down.
I want to take a quick moment here, guys, and wish my close buddy Jack Kitagawa a happy birthday. He's in Hawaii. And Jack, I'll see you in November. We'll be over to play a little golf. But happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jack.
Yeah.
I'm free in November.
So you can go with me.
We're also going to Wimbledon.
Yeah,
with Joe, right?
But that's next year.
Next year. Okay, that's good.
Your social calendar is filling up with lots of us. So
that's next year.
Just get in the habit of asking for
what
three
if we'd
of
have been
everything.
at Wimbledon today to be able to see
Boy, that
what
was
happened.
something.
As happy as I am for the Williams sisters, they won the double. That's how badly I feel for Andy Roddick, because I mean he played and he played so hard, and I mean, you know, he was going into that match. He was 18. He'd won twice and lost 18 times to Federer, and he took him to the longest, you know, tiebreaker in the history of Wimbledon. It was unbelievable, 16 to 14, I guess.
That fifth set was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And nobody looked tired. 4.5 hours of tennis, and neither guy looked like he was even breathing hard.
I think after a point, when you play tennis, I used to play a little bit, but when you play, after a certain point, you really, it's not about, you know, whether you're physically tired or not. Mentally, you just keep going. You just keep pushing yourself. But it was a great performance by Roddick, and Federer always has a great performance.
No,
So.
your knee's a little banged up right now. I'll take you on some tennis right now.
I'm not playing anymore for a while.
Congratulations to Roger Federer, 15th career Grand Slam. 1-2 to count on Navarro. 7th inning, 5-2 Rangers. The pitch from Jennings. B.J. Upton hopeful of an opportunity. It's the combination of Upton and Crawford that got the Rays their 2 runs back in the third, using their speed. But the Rays have had a couple of runners doubled off. They've made a couple of defensive mistakes. It's been a bit of a sloppy night for Tampa Bay.
It's a big inning for Texas, because they can get to C.J. Wilson in the 8th and Frank Francisco in the 9th. They've been a pretty good combination to shut down teams with a lead late in the game.
Defensive swing, and Navarro loops it just foul down the left field line.
That's a little bit of that 2-strike approach that Joe Madden's talking about, just trying to put it in play. That's kind of like a Chris Everett 2-hand backhand down the line there, Joe. And just couldn't keep it fair.
It was close enough. We may want to review here. Let's take a look.
Although those reviews in the tennis match were interesting to watch.
Nah, foul ball.
Dana DeMuth right there, staking it out, making the call.
And again, the 2-2.
Wow. It's that pitch that he threw to Gabe Gross that came back, and he got the call. He didn't get the call on this pitch.
He thought he was going to get the call.
Well, close, but no cigar.
K-Zone says Hunter Wendelstedt's right. Good plate umpire.
That reminds me, I have to tell you, when I was playing once, an umpire told me, the inner half of the ball got the outer edge of the plate. Now, it shocked me at first, but then I tried to tell him, I mean, you can't see that well. I mean, it was unbelievable. He told me that. The inner edge of the ball got the outer edge of the plate.
Wow. Those are good eyes right there.
Right.
Again, the 3-2. Swing and a miss, inning over. 3 up and 3 down they go. 7th inning stretch in Arlington. Texas up by 3. Presented by Taco Bell. That's a big time for baseball, and 1 week from today, Sunday afternoon at 2 Eastern, the 2009 XM All-Star Futures game on ESPN2. A week from tomorrow at 8 Eastern, the very popular 2009 State Farm Home Run Derby. Also Monday night at 10 Eastern, the Taco Bell All-Star Legends and Celebrity Softball game. Then Tuesday the 14th at 4 Eastern on MLB Network, the All-Star Red Carpet Show presented by Chevy. And then, of course, the culmination of it all, the All-Star game itself from Busch Stadium in St. Louis a week from Tuesday at 8 Eastern.
Do I need to go out and get a tux for that Red Carpet Show?
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
You haven't officially gotten the invite yet?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Red carpet. I mean, figure you get dressed up for that.
Nelson Cruz leads it off against Randy Cho. He'll be followed by Saltalamacchia and then Davis. Bottom of the 7th, 5-2 Rangers. I think all we know about the home run derby is Albert Pujols is going to be in it. It's in St. Louis, Major League home run leader. He's going to do it, you would imagine.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
And that Josh Hamilton will not be participating.
Right.
I think that was one of the points of discussion with Ron Washington before the game, that Ron didn't have any issues with Josh Hamilton playing in the All-Star game, but he had issues if he was going to compete in the Home Run Derby. Coming back from that abdominal strain, didn't want him putting at risk so many swings like he did a year ago. Put on an absolute show at Yankee Stadium.
I wonder what he would have done in the new Yankee Stadium.
Right.
With the balls carrying as well as they do now in the ballpark.
Great trivia question 50 years from now, though, is going to be who won the Home Run Derby in 2008.
Everybody thinks it's Josh Hamilton.
It wasn't
right?
Josh Hamilton, but he hit 28 in that first round and he just had the place going nuts, going bananas.
I've done the Home Run Derby for I don't know how many years, but that's the first time I've ever seen anybody swing and hit every ball on the good part of the bat. Usually in a Home Run Derby, you overswing.
Long throw from way behind the bag at third by Evan Longoria to get Nelson Cruz.
Either you overswing and hit it off the end of the bat, or you wait too long, you get jammed sometime. He was none of those things happened to him. Everything was right on the good part of the bat, even when they didn't go out of the ballpark.
Justin Morneau, by the way, won the Home Run Derby last year. Nobody remembers Evan, and
I remember.
You remember that? You were there.
Yeah.
You guys were there. And whether he'll get asked back, I would imagine he'll get asked to do it again. Whether he wants to do it again, we don't know yet.
The fans had a vote for who they'd like to see in the Home Run Derby. Non-binding, but at least they did have a vote.
Pujols was the National League leader, and Hamilton was the American League leader. Here's Saltalamacchia. Switch hitter turns around about right-handed. I think some people have wondered, I'm among them, if for whatever reason, say a guy like Ichiro wanted to go in the Home Run Derby, could he adjust his swing enough? Could he swing for the fences and hit a good number of home runs in the Home Run Derby?
Well, Ichiro could, because I've watched him in batting practice do that. I mean, he does that sometimes in batting practice, and he hits a lot of home runs during his batting practice. But I don't know if he could hit, say, a Mark McGwire, or Barry Bonds, or Ken Griffey Jr., or Josh Hamilton. I don't think he could outdo those guys.
Well, what do you think, though, about the Home Run Derby? Does it? I mean, we've seen it seemingly take a toll. Bobby Abreu, hit that 1 year, put on the show in Detroit. Then afterwards, the power seemed to kind of dissipate a little bit. David Wright seemed affected by it a couple years ago a little bit. Does it drain you to the point that it affects your power?
Lazy fly ball to shallow right. Gross coming on. Saltalamacchia retired.
I don't think it affects you to the point where, if a guy gets hot like Hamilton does and hits 28, or like Bobby Abreu does, maybe that takes a lot of them out of that particular night. I don't think there's a carryover for the next 2 weeks or anything. Because a lot of times what happens when a guy is struggling, you'll go out and take extra batting practice. And you'll get just as many swings in that extra batting practice session as you did in the home run derby. So I think it affects him that night. I don't think it has the long-term effect that maybe people think about.
Does it affect your swing? Do you think coming out of the Home Run Derby that it can change your swing that you had going into the All-Star break?
Again, I think guys in batting practice, you take a round, you slap the ball around. Then the last round, you play Home Run Derby with your teammates. You do that. So you do change your swing a little bit. I'm just not a believer that the Home Run Derby keeps guys from having good second halves. I can't be made to believe that, because I've seen guys take so many batting practice swings and still have good years, and have good games even that particular day. But it definitely takes a lot out of you that particular night, because you have so many swings and it's usually very warm.
Swing and a miss, 1-2, the count on Chris Davis.
And it can get as hot in St. Louis as it can here in Texas.
Dan, you're in charge of the weather for St. Louis for the All-Star break.
I'll make some calls. 5-2 Texas, bottom of the seventh. 2 outs, nobody on, and a 1-2 count on Davis. 1 for 3 tonight. Randy Choate doing a good job in relief for the Rays, trying to keep them close, give them a chance to make a comeback.
Well, the one thing this Rays bullpen has done this year is it has given them a chance to hold the deficit and come back and get some offense and win games. And when they've had leads, they've been able to hold it. I mean, you go through their entire key guys in their bullpen, and they have scoreless appearance after scoreless appearance over the last couple of weeks. They have been doing a phenomenal job for Joe Madden.
ERA under 3 as a group the last couple of months. Swing and a miss, inning over. Tampa Bay coming up in the 8th, down by 3. Top of the order, speed and power. Upton, Crawford, and Longoria.
Outside the bun. And in part by Ford. Drive the Ford difference at your local Ford or Lincoln Mercury dealer.
Top of the 8th inning here at Arlington, with the Rangers leading the Rays 5-2. New pitcher for Texas, left-hander C.J. Wilson. First pitch swinging, B.J. Upton, fly ball, right field, and how big is that? Up 3 to a speedster like Upton, retired on the first pitch. And Wilson, such an important guy in that Texas pen. Over the last couple of years, at times he's been the closer, at times he's been the late left-handed specialist, but just consistently good numbers when he has been healthy.
There was a closer a year ago that had some particles removed from his elbow, some bone chips removed from the elbow, and has come back and picked up where he left off.
Starts Carl Crawford with a strike.
Joe, let me ask you this. B.J. Upton, you're down 3 runs, 8th inning, new pitcher in the game. You want to take a strike?
Well, I would think that you would, but he's an aggressive hitter. And sometimes I know managers do not want to change guys' personality. He's an aggressive hitter. He hit the first pitch he saw in the ball game, remember?
Right.
And now he hits the first pitch here in the 8th inning. You would like your leadoff hitter maybe to take an extra pitch, and especially when you're down 3 runs, but he is who he is. But it's interesting because the Rays came into this ball game leading the league in on-base percentage. And you would think that part of that is taking pitches in certain situations.
Fly ball center field. 2 big outs for Wilson here in the 8th inning.
The Rays lead in base on balls. You also see the most pitches per plate appearance. They're also second strikeouts, so they do strike out some, although it's certain guys have the strikeouts with Longoria and Pena. But they tend to be aggressive early in the count and then wait for their pitch later in the count.
See, I believe aggressive in the count early is good, except when you're down 3 runs. But I do believe that is the way you should approach it. You're going up there to be aggressive, not going up there to be passive. So if you're aggressive in the first part of the at bat, then great. And you happen to foul off a couple of pitches, then you have to work the count or make sure you get another good pitch to hit. Don't chase something.
Now, this is a team, the Rays, that entering play today, they were actually the highest scoring team in all of baseball on the season. With what they haven't done tonight, what the Yankees did today against Toronto, the Yankees have become the best offensive team in baseball. But for the Rays, They've now scored only 7 runs in their last 4 games. 3 of them against Texas.
I think the toughest thing is you were talking about they came in here hot. They'd won 7 in a row before, before now they will, if they lose tonight, will have lost 4 in a row. And that's just, that's a sign of the times to me. There aren't any great teams. There are a lot of good teams. When your strengths show up, you win several games in a row. When your weaknesses show up, you lose some games in a row. We haven't seen them play well defensively tonight. And they have not swung the bats well, in this series. And they just haven't played as well. So your weaknesses show up, and now if they lose tonight, it's a 4-game losing streak.
And I feel like we say it every week, but it sometimes doesn't matter who you're playing, it's when you play them. And for Texas, who had been struggling, they run into Tampa Bay, who was playing good baseball, but they cooled off at the right time, and they ran into them at the right time, and now they've turned their fortunes around.
Well, it'll be interesting, they have to go to the Angels next, and Texas has the best inter-division record of anybody. They're great, when they play within their division. So that's going to be a key to see if they can continue that.
16-4 against the rest of the American League West on the season, and they've got their ace lineup tomorrow night. Kevin Millwood will open that series against Jared Weaver, who's having a good season. Vicente Padilla and John Lackey on Tuesday, and then Wednesday night, rookie Tommy Hunter, who just picked up his first major league win in his last start against Irvin Santana. Full count on Longoria.
We showed how Texas has dominated their division. Well, the Rays, when they started to turn their fortune around, interleague play, 13-5 in interleague play.
Blame it on their National League.
Well, no, here's the thing. They're a sub-500 team against the American League, the Rays are. 2 games under 500 in the American League.
Another fly ball. Bird with room. And Wilson gets Upton, Crawford, and Longoria in order in the 8th. Welcome back to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. Dan Shulman, Hall of Famer Joe Morgan, Steve Phillips. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. 5-2 Texas. You talk about some productive outs. 3 sacrifice flies. Also a fielder's choice has brought in a run tonight for the Rangers. And here they come in the bottom of the 8th against the new Tampa Bay pitcher, right-hander Dan Wheeler, unscored upon in his last 11 appearances. Elvis Andrus leads it off. And a pop up at a shallow right. Gross, the right fielder, comes in for the out.
You were talking about, production tonight and how productive these outs have been. Texas is one of the worst teams in baseball as far as productive outs on a regular basis, but they got the job done tonight, and that's what counts. And there you see Kinsler has reached his longest career hitless streak. And with Dan Wheeler out there, you mentioned the bullpen for the Rays has been fabulous.
And a strike taken. The side armor, Darren O'Day. The closer, Frank Francisco.
O'Day picked up from the New York Mets. He had been a Rule 5 draft pick.
Left field, but it's going to hang up long enough for Crawford to make the catch, and Kinsler now 0 for his last 21. Well, time now for a look at our K-Zone package, brought to you by Cabot Stains.
Well, Scott Feldman has the Mariano Rivera type cutter. You see where this ball is moving? It's moving across, not down. And he even backdoors the left-handers with it. I mean, this looks like Mariano Rivera to me, using both sides of the plate with that cutter. And no one does it better than Mariano, but he was kind of emulating him there tonight.
A quick couple of outs here in the bottom of the 8th. Here's Michael Young, and he swings at the first pitch.
Man,
it's contagious. Everybody hitting first pitch fly balls, and the inning is over.
They do have planes to catch.
A 4-pitch inning to the 9th. 5-2 Rangers. And the Cubs taking on the Atlanta Braves beginning at 7 Eastern from Wrigley. And then on Wednesday night baseball presented by Smirnoff Ice, also at 7 Eastern. The L.A. Dodgers are at Citi Field to take on the New York Mets. A couple of great games coming your way this week on ESPN. And don't forget, for Cub fans, Aramis Ramirez is supposed to return tomorrow. A guy who's been out a couple of months with a shoulder injury. Here's Frank Francisco, a guy who was out with some shoulder trouble, a couple of stints on the DL, was pitching great before the problems, has just now regained his closer's job. And he is on in a save situation here in the 9th inning.
Well, he had struggled when he first got back, but now they're saying that he's starting to throw the ball like he did before the injury. And he's very, very important for them if they are going to, you know, stay neck and neck with the Angels or past them.
Pena tonight 0 for 2 with a walk. He'll be followed by Ben Zobrist and then Pat Burrell. To center field, well hit. Bird racing back. He's got it.
See Marlon Byrd make some nice plays in the outfield, coming in to rob Carl Crawford in the first inning of this game for a diving play. And it's always tough for the ball hit right at you, and then the ball hit directly over your head. He turns and runs to the spot where he thinks it's going to go. Well played.
And the tough thing for you, if you're Pena, he hits the ball with a lot of top spin. And that ball went out there. I thought it was going to be over his head, and then it started to sink.
The strike taken by Zobrist, who's 0 for 3. Texas 2 outs away from sweeping the Rays. Another fly ball. Murphy. 2 down.
That's 5 straight fly balls from the Rays.
And from the Texas pen overall, 8 batters faced, 8 batters retired by Jason Jennings, C.J. Wilson, and now Frank Francisco. The last hit for Tampa Bay was back in the 5th. Here's Burrell.
That's the 12th fly ball that the Rays have hit. Guess what? Speed can't help you if you hit it in the air like that.
Ben Zobrist did something that he has done all season long. That's 3 games in a row without a base hit.
If it holds up, Scott Feldman will get the win to go to 7-2. Frank Francisco looking for the save. Matt Garza would take the loss. $22,324 on hand here tonight with their brooms. And now a strike away from the sweep. Pitching and defense, and don't look now. Texas is back in the hunt. Cruz won't have a play. A noisy 22,000 tonight.
Well, this is the out they've been looking for since about 7:05. The one that gives the Rangers the victory.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of Ranger fans at the hotel where we're staying. People traveling in from Arkansas and Kansas and coming down to try to watch the team play. And they said it's the second or third time down. It's becoming a little more regional where they're bringing some of their fans in.
Is that why I had to stand in line so long to check in, huh?
Fouled back by Burrell to stay alive. Francisco strikes him out to pick up the save and lock up a 5-2 victory for the Rangers. Tonight, Chevrolet player of the game, center fielder Marlon Byrd, 1 for 2, drove in a couple of runs and played some terrific defense out in center. Chevrolet is proud to recognize today's best and tomorrow's future, supporting youth baseball nationwide. The Texas Rangers continue to roll. They sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. They've won 5 in a row, and they've moved back into a tie for top spot in the American League West with the Angels, with whom they begin a series.